A lot to be known about people. Gotta reach them, see it right.
Trump's warning the Middle East, don't make me come in there.
Say Iran is not winning this war. They should talk, and they should talk immediately before it's too late.
I'm just so scared. I don't understand why people voted for this person.
No kings, just a bunch of babies.
No! 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 Go! Bad boy!
Fires, riots, and parades. Pete Hegseth is here. Plus,
does it get any more American than this?
This is pretty good. It's pretty good. A lot of security.
You have anything to hide?
Actually, I got in with a little weed, bro, but don't tell nobody.
Want to get it off your chest? You're in the right place. They accuse this show of being run by boobs. Well, let me tell you about us boobs. We're real and we're spectacular. Want politics and fun sprinkled with a lot of laughs? Heard in every state in the Union and 1,000 cities around the world. We just finished 16 years of broadcast excellence, now in our 17th year. The Dave Weinbaum Show is streaming live all over the world. As Iran missiles are going down, 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 hopes of a coup rise, rise, rise. The Ayatollah is being kept alive by the choice of Trump. He sees a deal with those in Iran who will believe, like the crown prince, that the mullahs must cede to the governing of Iran to the people, who are mostly Persians, who have hated them for the last 45 years. Trump knows you can never trust these Jew-hating mullahs, and instead of a ceasefire, it's time to flush the Ayatollah government back to its indigenous population, Persians. One more for the magical Abraham Accords. Yeah, why not? A new Iran. Trump figures if they switch Iran, the rest, like Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, Lebanon, and a new rejuvenated yet controlled Gaza would bring in African countries like Libya, Morocco, Tunisia, Ethiopia, and big Egypt. And did I mention Jordan? Well, I didn't, but there's a whole ton I could name that will go for this. Trump is about to turn the world around in the biggest deal ever made. That's my prediction. And he's doing it as an American president, not a king. Rightly elected. Not like the idiots who cheated America of this brilliant man. As Trump fades away in the 28 election, let's not forget what he did. Mount Rushmore is a good start for our history refresher. Trump never gives up, never lets up, and never lets America down.
Donald Trump leaving the G7 early and returning to Washington, where he's requesting the National Security Council be prepared in the Situation Room after a deadly weekend in the Middle East. In Israel, 24 fatalities, 600 wounded. The death count even higher in Iran, 224 dead and counting. Iran retaliating by firing over 370 missiles at the Jewish state. But Israel's hitting back harder.
That's what's going on right now in Israel. Rick, JP, Rick does the bits and the clips. JP is the producer. Lisa is my wife and also a contributor to the show of the female version of what it ought to be, which is, almost usually astounding. Astoundingly good, right? And we got plenty of great guests. We've got JJ, the rabbi. I think they're under another bomb warnings and getting to their shelters right now. So I think he's going to be there. We got the McCluskies. The great McCluskies are going to be on 9:30, and we have Chris Adamo at 10, and a special treat for us, Chad Green, who is the golf manager at Oak Meadow Country Club, and he's going to be in to talk about his career and what they're looking to do to make Oak Meadow great again. He actually had hats made like that, and I think they're on their way to a good start. He's a good man, so I think we're doing a good job. We're getting there, and shortly we're going to be seeing our buddy, and he's going to be here, JJ Bradshaw. Now the FBI knows that the Dems in China fixed the domino machines. They have a someone who's ratted them out, and they did it to steal the 2020 votes to Biden in the middle of the night. All right. Now that was when pandemic was just getting on, and we were using all those boxes, all those mail boxes. You remember that? So for all of us that got banned and got shadow banned and yelled at and screamed at that we were lying and all this crap. Well, the FBI under the last guy didn't relay that information. In fact, he said, this was Ray. He said, no, there's nothing to see here. Attorney General Barr, no, there's nothing to see here. These guys were lying out of their tuchus. Okay, and it's time these guys paid up for that. They stole the election, and now they need to get the consequences. And I hopefully this is followed by some litigation, and we'll see what happens. Nothing happens much anytime, but I think the Democrats are getting just a bit scared. And with the McCluskies, what we've got going on. They've broken this 1-6 narrative and have gone long to prove that this was an insurrection, all right, but it was an insurrection by the existing government, the Biden administration. So what we're talking about is the FBI now doing their job to fix the problem of the 1-6ers and to allow them, the 1-6ers, all of them that are like 1,500 that got pardoned, and get them right again. These people were thrown into jail with no cause, with nothing charged, just thrown them in jail, and then they were transferred from jail to jail, so they couldn't find them. This is what we've got, and this is the kind of stuff that happened in Russia, and it happened in Germany in 1933. You can look it up. It's a complete copy of that what happened in Germany, Nazi Germany, when they had the Russians pegged then as the ones that set the Reichstag on fire. And that was February 28th of 1933. And this is the exact example, because they blamed the communists. And the communists got banned out of this country only to get their degree at Harvard and become teachers. And that group is still there at these universities picking on Jews. And speaking of Jews, well, he's not Jewish. He's not wearing his yarmulke today, but and he's combed his hair. You got hair now. Anyways, this must be a shadow. I have no shadows on my hair. Anyways, this man is 257 years old. He is a great friend, and he is also in charge of this segment of the show. It's called JJ's Justice Report, and we're going to hear a lot about the Constitution and what some of the constitutional decisions have been this week, which have been very interesting. Please welcome, all the way from Rolla, Missouri, J. Bradshaw. How are you?
Dave, it's been a hell of a week. I enjoyed visiting with the Merrimack Republican women the other night. That was enlightening, and was pleased that you showed up. I wish we'd had a chance to talk a little more, but ran out of time. Say, when I was doing show prep, of course, which is just some reading on what's going on last week, a couple of things struck me, and I'm ready to talk about them. Usually I've got 10 different topics I'm ready to talk about. The first one, though, is the Democrats. And of course, that's wide open. You could talk about them for a week. But in my reading and prep for this thing, I kept coming back to Democrat, the problems that they are having. And let's talk about them.
Okay.
Number one, David Hogg. We've talked a couple of weeks about this. The Dems were going to kick him out as co-chair of the DNC, and out he went. Why? Because he wanted to spend $20 million to the primary. Some of the Democrats in name only, in his thoughts, and kick them out, put some new blood in there. Well, the leadership of the DNC, a bunch of middle class or middle of the road folks in there said, no, David, it's time for you to leave. And he's out. James, speaking of Democrats, James Carville.
Right.
Pretty smart guy, Looney Tune, left-wing nut job. But James Carville said in a radio interview the other day, and I quote, "The Democrats betrayed the working class," end quote. And he's right. If you look at the last election, the working class was represented by the Republican Party and completely abandoned by the Democrat Party. At least that's my opinion.
They're still being abandoned.
Oh, of course they are. And that's why I'm talking about this stuff. I read a little piece that the Democrat donors, and there's some pretty rich folks that donate Democrat. Their donations are drying up. And part of their little central committee said, oh, my God, we may have to borrow money to survive. Guys, isn't this telling you something? That maybe people don't want to donate to you because you're left-wing Looney Tunes? So far left that the left-wing donors don't even want any part of you? Speaking of bailing out of the Democrat Party, in early June, Randy Weingarten, who is the head of the American Federation of Teachers, which is a pretty darn big union, no longer support the Democrat Party.
Yeah.
Now, the AFT has been pro-Democrat for at least 2 decades, at least, that I've been able to find, and possibly longer than that. Lee Saunders from AFCME, quitting the Democrat Party. So let's talk about a little polling. Reuters did a poll on Tuesday and released the results on Thursday. This is out of 4,258 Democrat respondents. Okay, these are folks that say, I will vote Democrat in the next election. 62% of those polled said the leadership of the party should be replaced, end quote. This is pretty bad. You know, Democrats been in lockstep for a long time. Consider Nancy Pelosi's House of Representatives, where no Democrat ever voted anything other than what Pelosi wanted. And here's people saying, well, our leadership should be replaced. Only 24% approved of the way the Democrat Party is being run.
And yet who would they pick? Gavin Newsom? I mean, Kamala again?
The only people that they have been grooming for leadership positions are left-wing whack jobs.
AOC?
And people that would be completely unacceptable to the average voter on the street. So, Dave, they painted themselves into a corner. I'm thrilled. I'm so happy. You remember when Al Gore, inventor of the famous internet, ran for president?
Sure.
You remember who his chief of staff was? Donna Brazile.
Who?
Remember Donna Brazile?
I've met her. Yes, Donna Brazile.
Yeah, chunky little black gal who's far left wing,
right?
Far left wing wacko, and she's part of the reason that Al Gore lost that election. That she was so far left at that time. She would be considered a moderate by today's Democrat standards. Donna Brazile said yesterday she does not support the Democrat Party anymore.
Wow.
She didn't say she was becoming an independent. She didn't say she was becoming a Republican. But the Donna Brazile, left-wing wacko out of a couple of decades ago, said, no, I can't support this party. They've gone way too far left for me. This from somebody who was pretty darn far left to begin with.
Yeah.
What I'm saying in a nutshell is this, Dave. Decades ago, when Republicans and Democrats had differences of opinion and differences of policy, the one that was losing would provide an alternative, a suggestion. This is the way we ought to do it, rather than the way you guys want to do it. We've abandoned that. The Democrat Party right now is saying orange man bad. Donald Trump bad.
One guy, Fetterman of all people, Fetterman, who we thought was mentally damaged, has suddenly become a defender of Donald Trump.
Yeah. This guy's actually starting to look normal, Dave. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's a miracle.
From the worst candidate that could ever, he was ill, I guess. Okay. And he had problems with his brain. He had some strokes and things like that. But to come out again with logical thinking like that, maybe it did him a lot of good or something. I hate to say that, but maybe something happened to his brain and it turned him right.
Maybe. But the fact is, there are so few in the Democrat Party that are offering any kind of alternative to what Trump's doing. All they're managing to do is criticize. Let's take the King protest, for instance.
Yeah.
We don't need a king. This is a guy that has obeyed the law. Now, admittedly, he stretched it a little bit. He's been sued and prosecuted and impeached again and again and again. Nothing sticks. Why? Because he's obeying the rules. He's doing what he is supposed to do, and it's driving the Democrats nuts. They are not offering any kind of reasonable alternative to Trump's policies. Not a thing. Not a thing. It's all, I hate Trump. Let's demonstrate. Let's burn down the Target store and orange man bad.
And the irony of this is that he's there at the 250-year celebration of the Army. Okay. Yeah. and they're calling him the king. Well, what did the 250-year-old army do during the during the
We kicked out
Revolutionary
the king.
War? They kicked out the king. So he's the guy that is
We
celebrating
kicked out the
kicking out
king.
the king, and they're calling him the king. It makes no sense. I mean,
How about that, Dave?
crazy.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. If you ever flushed a toilet and watched the water swirl as it goes on down into the hole, this is
don't
the
know
current
what
Democrat Party. This,
Well,
yeah, this is the,
and there's nothing bringing it up. There's nothing good coming out of that.
well,
Not
it
that
gets
anything
refilled
good
with
comes
more
out of that.
left-wing lunatics, and surely someone in this party is saying, "Whoa, let's put the brakes on this. It's pretty obvious that what we're doing is not so good. Maybe we ought to change directions." But no, they've been in lockstep with the Looney Tunes for so long.
Yeah.
They don't know how to change it.
Yeah,
And
well, I think
I'm
that
not a David Hogg supporter, but at least David was trying to change it.
well,
Maybe
yeah,
not for the better.
you know,
At
he's
least
trying
he
to
was
get rid of
trying.
the older people. He's trying to at least primary them because they're just sitting there doing nothing and they're not
Well,
adding to it. And yeah, I would agree that that was a good effort.
yeah.
However, it didn't go, and they keep on. They have nobody. I mean, that what they have is Bernie and AOC, and AOC. She's a good speaker. I will grant you that, but she's an idiot in terms of what policies she puts around.
Yeah,
Come on,
yeah.
come on.
What falls out of her mouth is stupid every time she opens it.
Pretty much,
And
from what I can
talk about abandonment of the
Yeah.
Democrat Party, Dave. Here's another stroke, another nail to put in that coffin. In New Jersey, the International Union of Operating Engineers, these are the heavy equipment operators union in New Jersey, their management endorsed a Republican for governor of New Jersey. You know how long these guys have been in lockstep with the Democrats? Since long time ago. Absolutely thoroughly bought, paid for by the Democrats. And
Sure.
now their management is walking away saying these people are nuts. They're way too far gone.
I think it's getting so bad for the Democrats that they can't even cheat their way in. Even the cheaters are saying we give up. Now that's when you really have
Well, we tightened up
done
the
the
rules.
job on it.
Okay, let's talk about Iran for a minute. That'll
Okay,
be my closing end of this segment.
Yes, sir.
There are 93 million Iranians, or Persians, if you will.
They're Persians.
In that country, there are about 82, 84 million Persians, people who identify as a Persian race, and some other mixtures of races in there. Now, these people have been howling death to America since 1979 when they overthrew the Shah of Iran. And finally, Israel said, enough. These folks are close enough to making a bomb. We got to do something about it. And Israel's been bombing hell out of them. I'm pleased for that.
Yeah.
You know, Donald Trump stood back publicly and said, I don't have a dog in this fight. The Israelis are going to do what they're going to do. I will support them with armaments, with weapons, with ammunition. We're not getting into this thing. Well, of course, they get into it a little ways and discover that the Fordow nuclear site and a couple of others are buried deeply enough the Israelis can't get to them. So you can bet offhand, behind closed doors, Netanyahu and Trump are talking, or at least their foreign ministers and defense ministers are talking, saying, look, we've got to be able to take care of this. Otherwise, these guys are just going to brew up another nuke because we can't get to them. Trump publicly has said, you know, bad things are going to happen. You folks need to negotiate.
Right.
He gave them 60 days.
You need to get out of Iran. Okay.
Well, yeah. Trump has said, and just the other day said, I'm giving you 2 more weeks. Sometime in the next 2 weeks, a couple of things are going to happen. You're either going to surrender and give up your nukes, or we're going to take this thing out. Or we're going to let the Israelis beat you up for the foreseeable future. until there isn't much of your country left. Now, no place has Trump said, we need to have a regime change in Iran. He's not publicly said that. The Israelis, however, want a regime change. Okay, if you take out the Ayatollah, how does another Ayatollah get elected? Well, here's how it works.
Through
There are
revolution.
82 clerics.
It would be, they didn't get elected as much as they got a revolution that took over.
Oh,
remember, it kicked
Dave,
out the guy that was
the Ayatollah is not elected by popular election, not at all.
Right.
The Ayatollah is elected by a group of 82 clerics,
right,
who are as radical and nut job as he is.
Right.
82 of them. Okay, remember that number. And they are scattered throughout the country, but most of them are in Tehran. They stick pretty close to their leader.
I say they got about
Donald Trump
30,000
has said,
these guys.
and Netanyahu has said, we could take this guy out anytime we want to. We know where he's at. We're tracking him. We can take him out anytime, but we haven't. We're not going for a regime change, at least not publicly. What we want to do is for you guys to abandon your nuclear projects and have this inspected by international folks and turn into a real country. Okay, remember those 82 folks. If you're going to have a regime change and it's not done by popular civil war within the country, where the Persians of the country overthrow the leadership and put something else in place, whether it's a dictatorship, whether it's a democracy, you pick it. I couldn't predict. If you really want to get rid of the regime, you can bet that the Israelis and Donald Trump know where those 82 folks are. They know where they're at.
Well, it's not just that.
And if they chose to do so, they could take those 82 out in one swoop.
Yeah, it's not
over
just
a period of 24 hours. They'd be gone. Their revolutionary regime would be gone because all of their leadership would be gone.
I think it's almost there. I think you got one guy standing in the way, basically, and he's like 86 years old. And no, we're gonna continue from the river to the sea and all that other garbage. They're letting him live. Okay, and I think the reason is they want the Iranian people now to have the realization that these guys are weak now, and they need to take over the government.
Yes,
and when they take over that government, they become immediate friends and allies of who? Of
us,
Israel, the United States, and what do they become? They become another Abraham Accord country. And then that thing's going to take off. Then you've got Saudi Arabia. You've got all the African countries, Egypt, and all the other Libya, and all the other countries, Morocco, and you've got even Jordan and places like that. I mean, it's overwhelming what he can do, and I say this is the greatest deal ever made because it's going to change the whole world.
And it could be.
And it could be. And I think that's he always thinks big. So you got to look at the biggest possible thing. And he's going to get it done talk about a showman, July 4th. Coming up.
Yeah,
well, 2 weeks.
Followed that string correctly.
2 weeks. He's doing a show and a deal at the same time. This is amazing.
What Donald Trump is doing.
I could be wrong, but I don't know. I think he's kind of doing that.
No, I think you're right on it, Dave, which is where I was trying to lead, that the man has set a trap. He said, okay, you got a couple of weeks. You either need to surrender, take care of these problems. I think he's waiting for the Persians to overthrow these folks. And when he makes them weak enough, that's at least a possibility. Remember, these are the folks that overthrew the Shah of Iran in 79. Not exactly a bloodless coup, but one that was effective.
Well, his son now is saying it's time for them to go. His son, the prince.
Yeah. I was really surprised to see him on television the other day. I haven't heard anything from the Shah and his family in decades. Yeah. But, this, I think, between Netanyahu and Trump, I think may be one of the biggest coups that's ever occurred. Netanyahu is softening these people up so that now they have the skies, we have the skies, should we send a B-2 bomber over there with a couple of bunker buster bombs, it's very unlikely that they're even going to be attacked, much less shot out of the sky. So this coalition now, publicly, it's kind of cool, but privately, you can bet these two are operating off a handshake, saying this is what we need to do to make this happen. And I think regime change in the end is what's going to happen here. Good. Yep. Good. Let's hope that it turns into a good representative republic sort of regime rather than another nut job dictatorship.
Well, you look at Lebanon. They won't help. Lebanon is allegedly a puppet of Iran, and they refuse to help Iran. Okay, they refused. Hamas can't do it because they're stuck. They're stuck in the mud.
They run out of money.
They're running out of they're all running out of money, and they're running out of people too. Israel's still fighting them as well.
There's another wrinkle to this, Dave. Remember, Iran's net export is oil and gas, and they've only hit one gas area so far. But I'm sure the threat is there that, look, we can take out your economy. We can take out your oil and gas.
They say they're fully in charge of the air over Iran.
They are.
And so does Trump. He says, they have control.
So the question is, what happens if they take, say, half of that infrastructure out? Well, of course, the price of a barrel of oil is going to go up because a large chunk of their net export goes
a little bit already.
Will other countries take up the slack? In particular, how about OPEC? Whose side are they going to be on? The Iranians or the balance of the folks that may well sign into the Abraham Accords?
Well, okay.
This becomes geopolitically, this becomes very sticky and very interesting and changing by the minute.
And we didn't start the war. I mean, Israel did not start this war. The United States did not start a war there. Okay, they did this all. You murdered 1,300 Jews in one day, and then you try to you take all these hostages, and you think the world loves you for this? Well, some of them do actually. Huh?
Dave, there is a price to be paid, and I think they're beginning to see the first few of those payments. I'm not a big fan of war, okay? Having been in one, I can tell you it's an ugly situation. But the fact is sometimes they're necessary, and it looks to me like this one might very well be necessary. It looks to me like Israel is kicking the crap out of these folks, and good. God is on their side. The question is, how does it end? And how does it end is up to God and Donald J. Trump. I trust both of them.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. Donald J. Trump said, well, maybe 2 weeks. It might be 20 minutes. You never know with this guy. And he's not going to give away this.
Let me throw some stuff at you from the I think we have some of your relatives on there, for God's sakes. Rico Camino, good morning. He knows Rick Henderson. John Jeffrey Bradshaw, that's you. What a week.
Yeah. Been a hell of a week.
All right. Amber Carroll. Amber is trying to sell me something on X, which is a crypto thing. And that's interesting that she would actually say something. Amber Carroll reposted this stream. Actually, thank you. And what else? Roy Maddox. Good morning from Oklahoma.
Good morning, Roy.
And what else? Teresa?
It's on the screen
there. Patricia, Odin Maxwell, my friend.
Good. Go, team. And Teresa Bushby. Amen. Trump is trying to get our country back where it was before COVID, and we still have a lot to fix. You can't fix everything in the world in one day. Let Trump do his job. Great comment.
Amen.
I think Ann Maddox, I don't know who these hearts are for, but I suspect it's you.
That's my daughter.
Okay.
It's good to have your daughter listening.
That's for sure. And Patricia Odin Maxwell, I thought the very same thing too, Dave, about the 2-week thing with President Trump. He's waiting for firework time. Okay.
Yeah, he's the one that's going to provide the
Deanna
fireworks.
Reed, good morning. Boy, we got a lot of people listening today, and it's because of your handsome face. And now I got to go.
All right.
All right. Listen,
It's been my pleasure, Dave.
and it's always my pleasure too. We'll have to do this again in about a week. How's
I
that?
think we'll do that.
All right, let's all hear it for JJ Bradshaw. Thank you. Okay, in a couple of minutes, we got Rabbi coming on from Israel, I hope. I know, huh?
He looks kind of busy.
He looks kind of busy.
Yeah.
We'll see. I'm ready for this now. All right. Before I was so worried about him and all that stuff, but now I understand what's going on. I'm still worried. But let's do commercials. We'll be back with the Rabbi, I hope.
Your home is your castle. You don't need unwanted hassle. Don't let those creatures move in to stay. Let us protect your investments. That's what we're all about. Plank Termite and Pest Control will save the day.
Plank is locally owned and family operated right here in Rolla, a Google preferred business. Our customer service and your satisfaction is our #1 goal. So call Plank today at 368-3333.
Plank Termite and Pest Control will save the day.
Honey, what are you doing?
What does it look like I'm doing?
It looks like you're filling up a swimming pool.
Yep, I'm filling up a swimming pool.
In our living room?
How else am I going to watch the game and stay cool?
If your AC is on the fritz, call Hartley's Climate Control. Hartley's is the area's best in HVAC repairs, installs, and maintenance. Knowledgeable, honest, and dependable. Serving Rolla and the surrounding areas for commercial or residential needs. Hartley's Climate Control. Community born, community raised, community serving.
Call Hartley's Climate Control today at 573-368-3163.
Never be too coy to tell your friends and family about Koi Sushi and Hibachi. Celebrate the best Chinese-Japanese restaurant in the Midwest. Call 573-426-5551 to make a reservation or order takeout. Locally owned, 1808 North Bishop, Rolla, Missouri.
We can sum up McDonald's new crispy chicken sandwich in one word. Crispy, but also juicy and tender. Okay, it's crispy, juicy, tender, all one word. But then, also pickle. Oh, and potato bun, which is 2 words. Okay, we can't sum up our new crispy chicken sandwich in one word, so you'll just have to try it to understand it. Order ahead on the McDonald's app at participating McDonald's. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Merrell's Quarry and Asphalt, 40 years serving cities, counties, and everyday businesses with driveways for people who live and work in our little piece of heaven right smack dab in the middle of America. Call 573-578-9101 for your free estimate of rocking, rolling, paving, driveways, sealing, and striping too. That's 573-578-9101 for your free estimate.
Your home is your castle. You don't need unwanted hassle. Don't let those creatures move in to stay. Let us protect your investments. That's what we're all about. Plank Termite and Pest Control will save the day.
Plank is locally owned and family operated right here in Rolla, a Google preferred business. Our customer service and your satisfaction is our #1 goal. So call Plank today at 368-3333.
Plank Termite and Pest Control will save the day.
At your locally owned Price Chopper, our standards are high because we know yours are. See for yourself what an incredible fresh selection of grocery items we have in store. Talk to our expert meat associates about what you're looking for. They're happy to meet any special requests like custom cuts, or see our expert produce associates on how to pick out the best fruits and vegetables. Quality in the deli means fresh, full flavor, and always delicious. If you're craving fresh, baked goodness, we have that too. You can expect the best selection and the best value while interacting with our friendly and knowledgeable employees. You can find what you're looking for fast and easily at the best prices at Price Chopper. Fresh savings every day.
Gotta reach 'em, see it right down.
Acar Real Estate, where experience matters. 532 million sold since 2003, the #1 sales volume in Phelps County. As a client for decades, I can say they are the best in mid-Missouri. Call 573-368-7355. That's 573-368-7355 for the best real estate experience you'll ever have. Insurance going up like crazy. Daniel and Henry Insurance is one of the largest private insurance companies in the world. Richard Boyette, 314-444-5011. He's my guy at Daniel and Henry for 10 years. Business or personal, call Richard at 314-444-5011. He's the best.
Maybe it's for a kitchen you've always wanted. Maybe it's just to have a little extra room. Whatever the reason you're considering a new home loan, it's good to know that Town & Country Bank will guide you in the right direction. Our experienced local lenders are here to help you with a new home construction, remodeling projects, and fixed and adjustable rate home loans. You can even start the process online by clicking Online Mortgage Center at tcbanks.com. Smart, friendly solutions. Town & Country Bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Okay, we're back, and I see a familiar face on there. Thank God. Moshe is a wartime rabbi, and he houses and gets females who were widows of IDF soldiers to help each other cope with their children and raise their children together. So they won't be lonely, and they'll feel a lot better about being a widow, I guess. And please welcome all the way from Israel, I think. And apparently he is in a room. Please welcome Moshe Rothschild. Okay, so are you in the room there?
No, we just got out of the safe room.
Oh, okay.
The Iran launched an attack of about 30 missiles all over Israel. The entire country got warnings, and pretty much the entire country was in the safe rooms in their bomb shelters.
Can you show that? Here. I'm going to show this. I don't know how well it will work, but yeah, this is
yeah.
The whole country right there. And you're being attacked.
Can see me right there. I'm right there.
Attacked by a country that is 75 times the size of Israel. 75 times the size of Israel.
It's crazy because Iran is far from us. We have nothing to do with them. What is the whole reason why they want to kill us? Why they want to wipe us off the map? If you ask people, what's the reason? Why?
Yeah.
It's not like Hamas or that tells you, okay, they want a Palestinian state. They want this, that, the other thing. Iran, we don't have a border with them. They're far from, I don't know, 1,000 miles from here. I don't know, something like that, a little less. They have no reason to do what they're doing. The only reason they're doing it is simply their hatred of the Jewish people. That's it. There's no other reason.
Now, didn't they really? Weren't they the ones that organized and started this war, along with Hezbollah and Hamas? I can't see Hezbollah doing it on their own. I can't see Hamas doing it on their own. It had to be somebody bigger than them.
So these guys, Hezbollah, Hamas, they are all proxies of Iran. The Houthis, they get their funding from Iran. They're told they get what to do. They get their instructions from Iran. Yeah. Iran is the largest state sponsor of terrorism in the world.
Sure.
And they wanted to use those groups, namely Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthi, to try to push Israel out, to get rid of the country, really literally to obliterate. You want to talk about genocide? That's true genocide. They're looking to commit genocide to get rid of Israel.
What does from the river to the sea mean to you and me? Okay,
that's exactly what it means.
What does it mean? It means you got to kill every Jew that's in Israel.
Right. It's a genocidal.
It's a genocidal thing, and they're all accusing. Oh, you guys are genocidal because look at what's happening in Gaza. You're still killing people and babies and stuff. Yeah, like there weren't babies in the hospital that was just bombed a couple of days ago in Israel.
Right. Yeah. It's all lies. Everything they accuse us of is exactly what they are doing.
Exactly.
And they try. Israel. Israel, what it did in Gaza. There have been more babies born in Gaza than people killed since the start of the war. The population has increased. You see what we're doing in Iran, just constantly bombing. We have air superiority. If we wanted to do that to Gaza, we could. We could literally flatten the place in no time. They have no way of shooting down Israeli planes. They have no air force in Gaza.
But they have hostages.
Yeah, I'm saying if we wanted to commit genocide.
What do you think Israel's supposed to do when you have hostages? Oh, come in and feed the people. Yeah. Oh my, there might be children that are starving. Give the hostages back and surrender.
Yeah, they can end this nightmare in Gaza very simply. Just give the hostages back. It's the only time in history that a supposed so-called genocide could be ended by the people that it's occurring to, and they're choosing not to.
Yeah.
I mean, it's saying it's genocide, we're starving. So give the hostages back. It'll be the end of this so-called, genocide and the end of the starvation.
Is that really asking too much?
Yeah, I guess.
You can't have them back. I mean, on what war or whatever national and international laws are they thinking they're upholding by keeping hostages?
Right. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, let me look here. So the graduation of students in Israel has been canceled by the Iranian attacks. So what's going on with that?
Look, I don't know if people in America get what's going on here. Basically, the whole country is shut down except for supermarkets. You weren't allowed to go to work. Nothing was allowed to be open. You have to, when you wake up in the morning, I'd go outside, totally quiet, silent. We're all just on a war footing here. And literally every single night, last night was the first night that we did not get sirens. I'll say in our area. There were sirens in Israel last night, just not in my area. Uh-huh. That was the first time that that I slept through the night in a week. And we are like under absolute indiscriminate attacks on civilians here, which is an actual war crime.
It's right.
Not a bogus, made up, phony war crime that Israel's accused of. And you don't hear any resolutions in the UN Security Council. There's no emergency meetings of the Security Council or the entire UN.
What do they call it? Anwar actually participated in the attack on 10/7/23.
Yeah, I'm right, but I'm not even talking about that. What I'm talking about is what Iran is doing now is an absolute war crime attack. By targeting civilians, by attacking a hospital. These are real war crimes, not made up bogus ones. And the world is silent. You don't hear anyone. You don't hear the Amnesty International. I sent them an email. You don't hear any of the organizations that accuse all these terrible things from Israel. Not a peep. And these guys, they can go to hell as far as I'm concerned, because their motivation for attacking Israel in our war in Gaza was simply pure Jew hatred. Yep. And this is really this is completely pulling back it's pulling back the wool, and everyone sees that all these nations and all these newspapers and all these human rights organizations that condemned Israel is now suddenly silent when Iran is targeting civilians and targeting a hospital. Where are they?
So Trump is keeping the Ayatollah alive with the cooperation of Bibi Netanyahu. And what I'm thinking is that he's going to give him a chance to make a deal. And part of the deal is going to be that you cede the land back to the original owners, the Persians, and let them start a new government. And even if they don't do it, I think they're going to get involved with the bomb busters that go very deep into the land, and they're going to take it. They're going to make it so that it's going to happen. And then what do you got? You got another country in the Abraham Accords, and then you got Saudi Arabia. I think this is. You tell me what you think.
First of all, I don't think anything that Netanyahu or Trump says publicly we can take at face value. I think they're trying to throw him off. And when Trump says, I'm going to wait 2 weeks, I don't know if he means that or not. When he says we're going to negotiate and we're keeping Khamenei alive, I don't know if that's true or not. These are all, misinformation campaigns, perhaps, to try to throw the enemy off. Nobody knows. It's hard to believe that they would, really give away their strategy like that, but that's exactly what they did last week when they pretended, that there was all this fighting between Trump and Netanyahu and so on and so forth. And look what happened. So I don't know. What I do know is that we have to finish this, meaning that we have to get rid of their capability of producing nuclear weapons.
Yes.
And the 77% of Americans are on board and understand this, and they understand that this is not a war. This is not about Israel. This isn't, as you hear these absolutely absurd, you hear these anti-Semites saying Israel is just using the United States, as our whipping boy to bring, to fight on our behalf. First of all, I mean, it couldn't even be further from the truth. Israel has never asked anyone to fight our wars. Number one. Number two is that, and can you imagine a nuclear Iran? Think about the attacks. Iran is responsible for killing 250 United States servicemen.
The other point is that they actually are involved. The United States, whether they like it or not, are involved.
Right.
They've been
Iran, as the world's greatest sponsor of terror, if they went nuclear, trust me, the United States would have a real problem trying to monitor nuclear terrorism. And these guys are going to do everything they can to attack the United States, to attack Israel, to attack the West. Why do you think, by the way, Dave, notice you have not heard the Europeans are quiet because they know that they're terrified of the Iranians. They're close by. They're in the region. But the Europeans keep their mouths shut finally because they know that Israel is doing their dirty work. And what Israel's doing, if the United States gets involved, it's because it's in the interests of the United States. It's not because, they want to help Israel. I get it. But there's always a self-interest. That's how politics work.
Have you heard some of the people say there are no nukes? They don't have any nukes.
Yeah, and I say
why would they tell us they have nukes?
Yeah,
why would they say that Israel is a one nuclear bomb country, or maybe two, and then we got the small devil Israel, and we got the big devil, the Americans. They got the nukes for them too. So where does this come from that there's no nukes, and why? That's true. Why would Iran say they had them? Or we're close to having them for the last 15, 20 years.
Look, anyone who's credible knows that Iran is literally on the doorstep of building a nuclear bomb. Anyone who says they didn't, their agenda is either anti-Israel, anti-Jewish, or both, or one and the same.
Yeah.
Their agenda is simply to be a troublemaker. When they say Iran doesn't have nukes, I tell them you don't have a brain. How about that? You have no brain. And yeah,
that was days ago, wasn't it, JP?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Amazing what people will say and believe. They believe it. Oh,
yeah. People will believe anything. You know, they say, "Oh, I researched it." Yeah, to them, research is going to Google something online. That's not research.
Well,
and then you go to some bogus website that tells you some bogus information, and suddenly they've researched it.
Yeah, of course they're not researching all of it. They're just looking. They're looking for it.
They're looking for a confirmation.
Yeah.
You know, if you type in Iran has no nukes, I'm sure you're going to find confirmation from all kind of kooky websites.
I think even Tucker Carlson got caught up in this and they had to apologize to Trump.
Yeah.
How did he get caught up in this?
You saw what Trump said. Somebody go tell kooky Carlson that
he called him, I guess, and they he said he got straightened out.
Yeah.
It's true or not. So Israel did in 72 hours what Russia couldn't do in 3 years to beat down Ukraine. So you have to wonder about the strength of even Russia at that point.
I don't think having weapons and having planes makes you strong. It's all about who your fighters are.
Yeah.
And the Russians are not motivated. I mean, the Ukrainians are motivated. The Russian fighters couldn't give a darn about what they're doing. The Ukrainians are defending their homeland, and they've been holding out for 3 years now, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that's
what I say. Because everybody hates Zelensky, and everybody hates the fact that America. Not everybody. There's a lot of people that are financially involved in this war, keeping going, and more U.S. weapons and planes go to the Ukraine.
Yeah.
Gee, I wonder if an accounting of that money has been taken yet.
Well, I don't know about that, but I'm sure one day, perhaps, but I doubt it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So they blew up. Tell us about the hospital they blew up.
Yeah, the Soroka. The Soroka Hospital is the biggest hospital in the South in Beersheba, and it was around 7 a.m. here, something like that, on Wednesday. When was that? Thursday morning, and the alerts, the sirens went off, and the hospital was hit, and miraculously, they had literally just moved the patients who were in the area that were hit to an underground shelter. The hospitals in Israel are also, they have built underground wards years ago. So the hospitals are very safe here. But it was hit. There was a lot of damage and people were injured. But luckily nobody was killed. But it's attack. I mean,
so why is that different than the bombings that Israel does of close to areas where children are? Why are those children in those particular spots where Israel has a right, really, to go in and take care of the enemy?
Look, the difference is that the enemy targets civilians. The enemy targets hospitals. Israel targets our enemies, and tragically, there are sometimes collateral damage. It's very different. It's very different than
that. That's just doesn't just happen. That means
a strategy.
They're putting children, babies, where their headquarters are, and they're underneath where the hospital is with the babies.
Yeah, it's a strategy.
It's a strategy, right? With their own children.
Right. The strategy for Hamas has always been to put their arsenals, their headquarters, their troops beneath schools, beneath hospitals, beneath mosques, in order to try to get Israel to attack these areas, right? And they want civilian casualties. To them, it's a strategy.
Sure. All right, Rabbi. Other than the Dave Weinbaum Show, where can people find you and buy your book?
Well, they can get a copy of my book, Secrets to the Hebrew Bible.org. It's right there on your screen.
There you go.
And you won't regret it. If you want to go to our website, IsraelAlliance.org, or Facebook.com/Israel Alliance. We'd love to hear from you. So that's all.
So, Rabbi, Lisa called me a natural disaster. I responded, I am not. I work very hard at this. We need one of those for you.
That was generous, JP.
Oh, come on.
You
gotta
test it out.
He's laughing, yes. All right, do Eddie Murphy. Gotta do him.
What do you know from funny, you bastard?
That wasn't meant for you.
I don't know if you heard, but on Wednesday night, the Ayatollah had said that something's going to happen that night, and that the world will talk about it forever. And did you see that when he said that?
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, and so I wasn't nervous. He's just a big talker, and nothing happened. So the next day, I saw on Babylon Bee they posted that the Ayatollah announced that he saved 15% on his car insurance from Geico. That was the big surprise.
Boom! Now that's a boom one.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks. Shabbat shalom, my friend.
All right, guys.
All the family.
Take
God
care.
bless you.
Thanks.
God bless
you. All the
Israel.
best, everyone. Shabbat shalom.
Keep in there, buddy. All right. So we're back, and I'm getting my senses back. It's 9:01, or is it? Yeah. 9:01, and we've got our next guest coming up in about a half an hour. Is that right? Yes. So if you want to call the show, now's a good time to do it. 573-578-2700. Do we have any more comments? Nope. Okay, good. Not good. So, send them in, because we want to know what you're thinking too. Okay, let's do a couple of more clips, 3 and 4. We did 1 and 2, right?
We did.
Okay.
Iranian missiles struck an Israeli oil refinery and a power grid. This morning, a state TV outlet in Tehran was bombed during a live broadcast.
آنچه که ملاحظه کردید، صدایی که شنیدید، فضای غبارآلود استودیو.
Tel Aviv is claiming full aerial superiority over Iranian airspace. They downed 2 Iranian fighter jets today after top Iranian military officials were taken out Friday. Israel says they've already destroyed a third of Iran's missile launchers, and nuclear sites are getting pummeled so badly that residents are being warned of radiation spillage. The IDF is warning that Iran will pay the price, and they've scheduled this campaign to last 2 weeks. Their plan is to degrade the Iranian nuclear program and destroy their ballistic missile stockpiles. The mullahs are getting battered, and they don't have the military capacity to trade endless missile strikes with Israel. They need a breather and are crossing their fingers that we don't provide the bunker busters that could eliminate their nuke sites deep underground. So they're begging Trump to come back to the negotiation table, hoping that the U.S. doesn't get involved militarily and that Netanyahu will take his finger off the trigger. Trump signaling that he'd prefer a deal over death.
Have you heard any signals or seen any messages from intermediaries that Iran wishes to de-escalate the conflict?
Yeah,
What have you heard? What have you heard from the Iranians?
they'd like to talk, but they should have done that before. I had 60 days, and they had 60 days, and on the 61st day, I said, we don't have a deal.
Okay, so I'm back now, and let's talk about that deal a little bit more. We're talking a lot about not only deals, but also the deals that he's making about business as well, the tariffs. So let's see what Donald Trump talked about in 1984, with Oprah.
By the way, this is the same person that said this to Trump nearly 40 years ago. Go ahead, Rob.
This sounds like political presidential talk to me. And I know people have talked to you about whether or not you want to run. Would you ever?
Probably not. But I do get tired of seeing the country ripped
Why
off.
would you not?
I just don't think I really have the inclination to do it. I love what I'm doing. I really like it.
Also, it doesn't pay as well.
No, it doesn't. But, I just probably wouldn't do it, Oprah. I probably wouldn't, but I do get tired of seeing what's happening with this country. And if it got so bad, I would never want to rule it out totally, because I really am tired of seeing what's happening with this country, how we're really making other people live like kings and we're not.
You've said, though, that if you did run for president, you believe you'd win.
Well, I don't know. I think I'd win. I tell you what, I wouldn't go in to lose.
Okay, so already he's talking about changing the financial situation of the United States compared to all the countries, which comes down to tariffs and deals and making things a little fair. We have no obligation to support everyone at our loss. And that's why he is a great president. And this is what he's doing. He's standing up for Americans and America. What are the Democrats standing up for? Are they tell me. I mean, call the show, 573, yes, 578-2700. I love that cricket that used that phone right there. I want to hire him. All right, so there is nothing that is pro-America. Now Trump is he can bend and he can make a change. He's trying to be kinder to the people that come from Mexico on some kind of legality, and they go back and forth during the seasons of picking whatever it is, crop or handling cattle and stuff like that. Okay, I don't see any problem with that. Do you? As long as it's legal. What we really want to go after, the first thing, is people that are coming over illegally and committing grievous crimes of rape, murder, trafficking children and women. That's what is really what we're trying to get out of here. And who put them there, by the way? Who put 21 million people in this country who were illegal? Who did that? Who put 30, 40,000? Oh, JP thinks he knows.
My answer is the Democrats.
You're wrong. No, you're right.
Okay, thank you.
I think it was the auto pen that did it.
The auto pen. Okay, well,
I like her answer better. I give up.
Yeah, that could be. We got to find out who the auto pens are. Really, we wonder about everything, including Supreme Court justice. They're speculating on whether the Supreme Court justice that just got on recently, and I can't remember her name, Jackie or something, I forget, a black gal who got on, and we're wondering if that was an auto-pinned nomination, which what would that be? That would mean that would be the end of this gal, I think, because she was never duly appointed. And they're actually looking into that. I love this FBI, what they're doing. I mean, they've got a lot of agents they're fighting against, but they're coming up with the truth. And they certainly came up with the fact that China was going out there and bringing a bunch of these ballots from Dominion and probably getting them floated in the middle of the night to these receptors, these mailboxes that were out there, and collected by who? It wasn't the guy that wrote. It wasn't the ballots that came out of the people. These were taken out by people who were also cheating on the election, and that's what happened. 2020 was a disaster. And, and all we're talking right now, we had to suffer a long time. We had to suffer from the pandemic because of China. We had to suffer from that election because of China. Who do you think our real problem is in this world? I think it's China. And hopefully we can turn them around. because they're big too, but still, they can't be doing this kind of stuff. Christopher Ronzini says, good morning to you, Dave Weinbaum, and the lovely Mrs. Lisa Weinbaum, and the crew. Well, good morning to you, Godfather. Good to see you. We got a lot of Tangans on this show. In fact, I got one coming up in a little bit. Adamo in Wyoming. Now, if you say, I'm a Sicilian and I live in Wyoming, what does that automatically tell you?
I assume witness protection program.
Exactly. Exactly. He gets all mad when I say that. Yeah, well, I was born here. Well, yeah, sure you were. Yeah, you and Guido, right? Sure. All right. So now some Italian guy's going to get pissed at me. I'm good at pissing off people, aren't I, honey?
Oh yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're very skilled.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I take great.
You find endless ways to be annoying and difficult and all those things.
And by the way, oh wait, I got to do this. All right. Now I came in here very uncomfortable because I was wearing my T-shirt. I was wearing my T-shirt in such a way, and I don't know if you need to close up this one or not, but you're going to have to play with it. I'm going to have to turn my back to you. I don't like to turn my back to my audiences, but this is what my T-shirt said. Okay, how's that?
A little more that way.
This way?
Nope. Other way. There you go.
Now stand up.
Now,
straight.
what does it say?
Oh, now you're going to have to squat. There you go. Who's your caddy?
Who's your caddy? That was my Father's Day gift. All right. And I thought it was so cool, except for the fact that you had to wear it backwards for people to see that. You know?
Only you.
Only me.
Only
Wait a minute.
you.
I didn't buy this. I mean, I love it, but
Only you would walk out of the house with your shirt on backwards and think it was okay.
Yeah, it was okay for a while. Then I started getting choked in the throat. You know, it's kind of tight. I guess shirts are made tighter in the back.
The back is different from the front.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was I was running out of air.
Very good, honey.
I was running out of air. Oh, it's terrible. Anyways, so if you want to call the show, we've got another 17 minutes. Have we done 2 commercials? No. Okay. Well, let's play another couple things, and then we'll have a couple commercials. How about the Kamala, the AI speech? Okay, so because this is a great speech, everybody. Now get your notes out. Get your notes so you can write this down. What she says, because it's very, very amazing. This is amazing what this woman has come up with. I don't know how she lost. I maybe that was fixed. I don't know. Hell. All right, go ahead, hit it.
AI is kind of a fancy thing. It's, first of all, it's 2 letters. It means artificial intelligence. But ultimately what it is it's about machine learning. And so the machine is taught. And part of the issue here is what information is going into the machine that will then determine, and we can predict then, if we think about what information is going in, what then will be produced in terms of decisions and opinions that may be made through that process.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
He said, Steve, I'm so excited. Many years ago, Paul called me. It was in the evening, and he said, Steve, I'm so excited. I just finished a new song, and I just have to tell somebody. And I said, oh, great. What's the title? And he said, 47 Ways to Leave Your Lover. And I said, Paul, what if it were 50? 50 ways to leave your lover. And there was a long pause. And he said, "Go on." And I said, "Well, 50 has a nice ring to it, and 47 sounds a little awkward." And he said, "But, I've got 47. I can't think of any more." And I said, "Make a new plan, Stan." And he said, 48. I said, "Don't need to be coy, Roy. Drop off the key, Lee." He said, "Okay, 50, great. Hey, thanks. And I'm sorry if I interrupted anything." I said, "Don't worry, I was just here cooking a chicken." And he said, "Oh, really? How are you preparing it?" And I said, "Parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme." And now look it up.
Okay. All right. Well, I hope you like this stuff. I mean, let me know because I love it. I think it's funnier as hell. Now, my wife, were you laughing?
Well, the first time or two, yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, not everybody listens at the same time. So what are you going to do? All right. So, anyways, let's go back to whatever I found interesting this week. The Supreme Court of the United States is to hear the Ryan Zinke case. Prosecutors offered him $5 million to settle. He's the guy that did not take Trump's what do you call that? Pardon. He didn't take it. He didn't take it. Kept him eligible now to sue the government, because normally what they'll do is if you accept the pardon, then they'll say, "Oh yeah, well that covers everything," and it absolutely doesn't. But he refused it. So and the Judge Boasberg, that was his job. That probably sounds familiar. He just closed the case down. I guess that was kind of a mistake. So he could have made restitution and stuff like that, but no, he just shut the case down, trying to shut him down as he did the whole trial. And now they've got people on it. And you're going to hear one of those persons on it in the form of Mark McCluskey, who was the lawyer for Ryan Zinke and knows everything that went on and knows how horrible our government acted towards these people. You're seeing riots in LA, you're seeing riots in Minnesota, you're seeing riots in Washington, D.C., and I'm not Washington, D.C., but Washington State, Seattle, places like that, Oregon, and yet nobody was killed other than people in some flashbang situations from the cops. And I think there was just one or two others that were killed from them not doing anything wrong. And then there was Ashley Babbitt, who was shot by the head of the security of the cops for the Congress. So this is what you got, and he knows everything about this. He is co-lawyering with Peter Tickton, who is Trump's best friend. All right, and Peter Tickton is really doing a lot of research on this, and this will be. I don't know why it's not out yet. It ought to be out, but we'll see if we can get a little more information out of Mark McCluskey here in less than an hour, right? About 45 minutes, right?
I know they're coming on in like 12 minutes. McCluskey's are.
Oh, they're at 9:30. Mm-hmm. Oh, Chris is at 10. Oh, well, this was a great introduction then. Yeah. I love Chris too. He's great, but I got him mixed up. Yeah, Chris is coming on at 10. I got that wrong. And so the McCluskeys are coming on, and it's great. I got them all prepped for them and everything, and we're going to see if we can ease. It's sometimes with these lawyers, they are prone not to talk a lot. And now I go way back with the fact that Mark McCluskey was good friends with my lawyer who has died, a guy named Chuck Tote, very famous lawyer. Good friend to us and our family, and we did a lot of great work together. Am I wrong?
I think you just got divorces with him, didn't you?
Well, it was good work.
I don't follow, but go ahead.
No. Well, I mean, it's going to happen. I mean, who hasn't been divorced in this room? Hello? Raise your hands. Come on.
If we haven't or have.
If you who has not been divorced here?
Oh, I have been. So.
Yeah. Okay. So it happens. Donald Trump. How many divorces did he have? 2 or 3? I forget. Yeah. I don't know. So I think it was 3 actually, and this is his 4th
Well, then you're
marriage.
tied.
We're tied. Yeah.
Congratulations.
If I've only been tied at the other marriages, it would have worked.
Congratulations.
Oh God, another joke. All right, here we go. So anyway, it's wrong. Well, we got to have a lot of laughs. Come on, the world is like not a great place. Okay, so let's do commercials, and then we'll come back, have a couple minutes, and then we'll get on the phone with the McCluskies.
Your home is your castle, you don't need unwanted hassle. Don't let those creatures move in to stay. Let us protect your investments, that's what we're all about. Plank Termite and Pest Control will save the day.
Plank is locally owned and family operated right here in Rolla, a Google preferred business. Our customer service and your satisfaction is our #1 goal. So call Plank today at 368-3333.
Plank Termite and Pest Control will save the day.
With warmer temperatures right around the corner and allergies ramping up, now's the time to get those AC units serviced. At Hartley's, we pride ourselves in offering outstanding service with fast response times. With proper maintenance, you can make those hot days be a lot cooler and remove those pesky allergens that always seem to find their way into your home. Call us today so you can be living a much cooler and healthier life. Hartley's, community born, community raised, community serving.
Call Hartley's Climate Control today at 573-368-3163.
Never be too coy to tell your friends and family about Koi Sushi and Hibachi. Celebrate the best Chinese-Japanese restaurant in the Midwest. Call 573-426-5551 to make a reservation or order takeout. Locally owned, 1808 North Bishop, Rolla, Missouri.
We can sum up McDonald's new crispy chicken sandwich in one word. Crispy. But also juicy and tender. Okay, it's crispy, juicy, tender. All one word? But then, also pickle. Oh, and potato bun, which is 2 words. Okay, we can't sum up our new crispy chicken sandwich in one word, so you'll just have to try it to understand it. Order ahead on the McDonald's app at participating McDonald's. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Merrell's Quarry and Asphalt, 40 years serving cities, counties, and everyday businesses with driveways for people who live and work in our little piece of heaven right smack dab in the middle of America. Call 573-578-9101 for your free estimate of rocking, rolling, paving, driveways, sealing, and striping too. That's 573-578-9101 for your free estimate.
Your home is your castle, you don't need unwanted hassle. Don't let those creatures move in to stay. Let us protect your investments, that's what we're all about. Plank Termite and Pest Control will save the day.
Plank is locally owned and family operated right here in Rolla, a Google preferred business. Our customer service and your satisfaction is our #1 goal. So call Plank today at 368-3333.
Plank Termite and Pest Control will save the day.
Busy schedule? Let your locally owned Price Chopper help you save time with online shopping. It's easy. Sign up to tcmarkets.com or download our mobile app in the App Store or Google Play. Create an account and browse through the categories and choose the items you need. When you place your order, your personal shopper will get all of the items you've selected, taking the same care you would and following your notes. We offer free curbside pickup, so you don't even have to get out of your car. Start your online order today and no online shopping fee for a limited time. Go to tcmarkets.com or download our mobile app to get started. Price Chopper. Fresher savings every day. Acar Real Estate, where experience matters. 532 million sold since 2003, the #1 sales volume in Phelps County. As a client for decades, I can say they are the best in mid-Missouri. Call 573-368-7355. That's 573-368-7355 for the best real estate experience you'll ever have.
Gotta reach 'em, see it right now.
Insurance going up like crazy. Daniel and Henry Insurance is one of the largest private insurance companies in the world. Richard Boyette, 314-444-5011. He's my guy at Daniel and Henry for 10 years. Business or personal, call Richard at 314-444-5011. He's the best.
At Town & Country Bank, we are committed to providing exceptional service to our customers. We do more than just provide loans for our community. We help make dreams become reality. Whether it's a new home, farm, business, or a new car, we would love the opportunity to help. Stop by one of our 2 Rolla locations and let our friendly lending team remind you how special hometown banking can be. Smart, friendly solutions. Town & Country Bank. Member FDIC. Equal housing lender.
All right, we're back on. More news. Minnesota cop. Actually, he was acting as a cop. He was actually, they found out that this guy was some kind of a preacher and went to Africa and danced and preached about Christians and Jesus, and just he was just a family guy, and he goes out and murders and maims Minnesota police, or Minnesota, not police, but they're politicians, and he's acting as a police officer, and then writes this weird note back to his wife that Daddy went to war today. Don't comment back because you might be, indicated or maybe investigated. So this is really weird. All right, I don't know. The guy had a manifesto, and he had about 40, 50 people more he wanted to kill. So be careful when you open your door and the guy's there's only one guy there, and especially if he's wearing a mask, like a Halloween mask or something. But he had a cop car, so I wonder how he got that. That's going to be interesting. Kraft Heinz are going to remove all their harmful food dyes as of 2027. And the LBGQTs, whatever that is, they're invading the USA. It's time to save our children because, interestingly enough, the Supreme Court came up with a 6-3 decision saying that you can't convince children to do this. And how do you not? I mean, it's incredible that 3 of those judges voted against it, even, but still they did. And it's invading every town in this country, including this one here. There's a lot of people up here that are defending all these dancers and stuff, and no parents allowed, even for 13 years old. Who do they think they are? I mean, it's incredible what's happening all over this country. And another reason why Democrats are looked at as idiots. Why would you want your kid to change their sex gender? All right. Speaking of sex genders, look what I've got right there. just fell into that. Speaking of sex genders, I was just talking about the Supreme Court decision there. All right, let me find my page, and this gentleman there, and is he by himself again? That pisses me right off. I'm glad he's here. But that's only part of the group here that I expect to happen here. All right. So, two great Americans, both lawyers. Wow, two in the same house. Staved off 350 BLM and Antifa with a rifle and a tiny handgun. And with these two words, private property. Please welcome the All-Star recently, especially recently, since he's been on the 1-6er pardon cases, Mark and, well, Pat McCluskey. So how are you?
Well, I'm fine, but the reason why I'm solo here today is, last weekend we went down to New Orleans for the weekend to celebrate our 40th wedding anniversary. And on the plane on the way back, everybody was hacking up kittens. And Patty got whatever everybody on the airplane had. So she's under the weather, as they say.
What about the kittens?
Well, that's my euphemism for people coughing like they're dying, right? I always say hacking up kittens.
Oh, I think when we came back from, I think it was Jamaica or someplace, that's when we got the COVID.
Yeah.
And I remember, getting back, and we were both sick for a week or so. And this was 1921 or 2021.
You didn't look that old, Dave.
Yeah, well, thanks. I appreciate that. You smart ass. I set you up. Anyways, so we had this, and I called my doctor and I told him I think I got this thing, and he says, "Well, you got to come in and get a shot." I says, "I'm already over 70." I said, "Why do I need a shot? What about the antibodies?" And he says, "You need a shot." I says, "Did you look at the VAERS report?" And I'm saying, he says, "I only read the New England Journal of Medicine." So I linked it, and I called him back. I says, "By the way, you know what's in the New York Journal of Medicine?" He says, "Yeah, I looked at it." I says, "Well, good. I want you to remember one last thing. You're fired." Yeah, and we didn't go back. My wife was feeding me ivermectin.
Yeah.
Because her dad was in he was in the cattle business as a big animal vet, and it seemed to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I got COVID, I called up our vet. Or actually, I called up my COVID doctor, and I said, "Is there any reason I can't just eat my horse's ivermectin?" And she said, "No, just titrate it based on your weight." And so they
That's what we did. It's good to be a farmer, like you.
Yeah.
A gentleman farmer.
I don't know about the gentleman part.
I know. I was laughing. That's why. All right. So Kash Patel, the head of the good head of the FBI, has proof that China printed ballots for Biden in 2020, and that the elections were stolen elections in 2020. How many people got either fired or kicked off social media or punished for saying anything about that?
Well, lots of people. But Ed Martin is now vowing to prosecute the people that prosecuted the truth tellers. I mean, the bottom line is it was against the law to tell the truth about either the COVID virus or the 2020 election up until January 20th of this year. And now we're actually getting some sanity back in the world. where it's no longer against the law in America to tell the truth about most things. It's still illegal to tell the truth about some things, but I can't get in that. I mean, even Tucker Carlson said there's some things on the planet that you just can't tell the truth about, but he couldn't tell us what it was because you're not allowed to tell the truth about it.
Well, one thing he was, I have one thing that he was talking about, that there was no atomic bombs in Iran. And Trump called him on it. I don't know whether he called him or not, but he said he's wrong. We know they have atomic bombs there. And,
well, except Tulsi Gabbard, right? Tulsi Gabbard a couple of weeks ago testified in front of Congress and saying, no, they don't have any weapons grade uranium. No, they're not trying to build a bomb, and no, the Ayatollah has not authorized a bomb. And
well,
so
where did that come from? I read that too. I heard about that. I didn't see it.
Yeah, and so once I got to tell you this, there have been twice in the recent past when the propaganda mechanism of the entire United States, all media, not just right-wing media, not left-wing media, but all media and all pundits jump on the same side. And when that happens, it's pure propaganda. But the first one was Ukraine, right? My favorite example was, I was talking to Tucker Carlson about this. First one was when at a joint House of Congress, Volodymyr Zelensky gets up there and gives us this speech like he's a champion of the world. And then they play this 4-minute propaganda film with the girls holding little kittens and stuff, just like out of Wag the Dog. And they played this to joint House of Congress live on television like it was real news and not just propaganda. And I wrote to Tucker Carlson, I said, he was still at Fox at the time, I guess. And I said, never believed that Fox would engage in such bald propaganda as this. But now it's the same with the war against Iran. Now all of a sudden, Iran went from having nothing more than 60% refined uranium to now having, they've got 90% refined uranium, and they've got bombs, and they've got this and they got that. Except that the person that our government has charged with national security says it ain't true. And then she gets a strong arm treatment from the president and says, oh, I guess maybe I was wrong about that.
Oh, okay.
I mean, she wasn't wrong about it before it became politically important to say something different.
Well, President called Tucker, apparently. I'm sure he mentioned your name.
I'm right up there.
But he said to Tucker, says that's not true. We know independently that they've got it. Yeah. And so, who are you going to believe is what you're saying. And I've had people scream at me that they don't have it. Scream at me. Yeah. And I says, well, then why would Iran go around talking about this for the last 15 years, that they're going to put a nuke, maybe 2 nukes in Israel? They're saying this to the world. And maybe as many nukes as necessary in the big devil in the USA.
Yeah, but you think back to even the first Bush administration, we've been being told by the propaganda mechanism that Iran's been days or weeks away from nuclear weapon for at least 20 years. And when they tell you the same thing for 20 years, if it wasn't right 21 years ago, or 20 years ago, or 19 years ago, or 18 years ago, or 17 years ago, why should we believe it's true today, particularly when the head of national security, who's charged with knowing these things, says it ain't true?
I don't know. All right. So anyways, let's get on what the real subject is. And that is, let's talk about the 1-6 case and how much how much truth you can give me in this. Would you walk me through the specific evidence that shows 1-6 defendants were targeted on behalf of the Democrats?
Sure. I've now talked to hundreds and hundreds of the J6ers, and there were a couple of guys that did some bad things on J6, broke windows and stuff like that.
Well, when you say a couple, were they actual J6ers, or were they BLM or Antifa?
Darn good question. A lot of them were agents provocateur. The ones that were not were egged on by the ones that were.
Right.
But the vast majority of people walked in through open doors, held open for them by Capitol Police, fist bumped the cops, sang the national anthem, chanted USA, 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 and walked out without touching anything, breaking anything, fighting with anybody, doing anything bad. They were hunted down like the worst criminals. Those guys would have their front doors kicked in by the FBI at the crack of dawn. They had 30 FBI vehicles in their front yard, helicopters flying overhead, their entire neighborhood blocked off. themselves, their spouses, their minor children, pulled out with machine guns pointed to their heads, taken down to the local FBI headquarters, chained up hands and feet. And then people in the history of the United States, no FBI agent ever prosecuted, ever investigated or arrested people on misdemeanors. No misdemeanor defendants ever went to federal prison except after 9/11, after January 6th, when hundreds, we're talking hundreds of ordinary moms and dads and patriots that did no more than walk through open doors got prison sentences in federal prison for trespass, or for one that they made a lot of people plead to, which is picketing and parading, right? Picketing and parading. You know, we have this thing called the First Amendment to the Constitution.
Right. Yeah.
It says Congress shall make no law, right, regarding the establishment of a religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or the right of the people peaceably to assemble to seek redress of their grievances, right? This is what these people were doing. The vast, overwhelming majority of them. I've got one guy who's a 20-year policeman who did nothing more than what he says, step on the government's grass. They claimed he was on a restricted area on the Capitol grounds, although there were no barricades, no indication it was restricted grounds. He lost his police certificate. He did time. They came in, he had an FFL, Federal Firearms License. They came in, they seized all his records. They seized all his 4473s, a form you have to fill out. And then the ATF comes in and says, show us your documentation. Show us you haven't been violating the laws of the ATF. And he says, I can't show you my documents. The government seized all my documents. They seized all my 4473s. And the ATF says, no, we've checked with them. They didn't. You're lying to us, right? Just, you know, there's a guy who's a client of ours. He's a DEA agent, right?
So somebody hated him for some reason.
They hated him for standing up for his right, his First Amendment rights. They hated him because, and anybody that had, you know, a business that is contrary to what the federal government under Joe Biden would like people that have federal firearms licenses, people that were special forces, people that had airplanes, for example, they all got the harshest treatment. There's a guy I was talking to yesterday, but I've talked to him for a long time. He was a DEA agent on the job in D.C. that day. He raises his arm to signal somebody. As he raises his arm, his jacket pulls back, and you can see his pistol and his light and his badge. They charged him with flourishing his weapon on Capitol grounds. His brother was an FBI agent. His brother turned him in, right? His brother was an FBI agent. I found out yesterday he got fired recently. So at least they're doing that. But I mean, and he got a security clearance pull, the DEA agent, right? So he can't get a job now. He can't go back to work for the federal government. He was trying to go to work for the CIA. Can't do anything now because his security clearances have been pulled. I mean, we had just the wide variety of people, just moms and dads going there to do their patriotic duty. People got years in prison. People got years of supervised probation. People got home detention with ankle bracelets where they couldn't leave the front porch of their house, for doing no more than walking through an open door. Some people not even going inside. Our buddy Ryan Zinke never got inside the building, but they gave him years in prison.
Yeah.
And then some evil bastard at the Justice Department comes up with this concept of the 1512 charge, the obstruction of a government proceeding, something which was designed for the Enron cases where people hid documents, right? Yeah. And that was the felony enhancement that gave the government the right to give people years in federal prison for doing nothing more. For example, in the case of Ryan Zinke, walking outside the Capitol building and filming what was really going on. The truth of what was really going on.
Go ahead.
I can't tell you how many people told me that after their visit to the Capitol building that day, they went back to their hotel rooms and watched what the media was portraying and say, was I there? That's not what I saw.
So speaking about how many others than Antifa, Ray Epps, and the DC cops, Capitol cops, contributed to entrap innocents. What was the plan? I mean, there was a plan there. First, you welcome them, and then you shoot these things at them.
Yeah, and, you know, everything was fine until about 2:20 p.m. that afternoon.
Yeah.
All the crowds outside, even on the west side of the Capitol where the scaffolding was in the tower, everybody was just singing and chanting and that sort of stuff. For reasons which we have not yet discovered, we don't know who issued the order. The Capitol Police and the Metro Police started shooting percussion grenades into the crowd, shooting rubber bullets in, shooting pepper balls in, and that made the crowd, that, needless to say, agitated the crowd.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know,
and it was obviously meant to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Set up a scenario.
Yeah. The concept was to incite a bigger riot. I was thinking about this last night. Think about this. They arrested 1,583 people, which they claim were terrorists, which they claim were insurrectionists, which they claim were trying to overthrow the government, right?
Yeah.
Did you hear about any gun battles when people got arrested?
Not one.
No. Not a single one, to my knowledge.
Except for Ashley Babbitt, not a single one.
All these fierce, bad insurrectionists came to their front doors, even when the FBI is pulling machine guns on their 4-year-old kids, and didn't shoot back. They show up at 6 o'clock in the morning with their loudspeakers and their lights blaring, kicking in the door, and no one took offense at that enough to pull a gun and try to defend themselves. You got to imagine. Say Dave Weinbaum's fast asleep at 6 o'clock in the morning. In the middle of the winter, all of a sudden his house is lit up by lights. People are kicking in the doors. You look outside and people with machine guns are all over the place. There's no way you can tell what's going on because you're looking into the blinding lights of their spotlights. How the hell do you know who they are? And yet, if these were really fierce, bad insurrectionists, wouldn't you think at least one of them would err and make a mistake and think he was under attack and fight back? But no, everybody just submitted to arrest.
Yeah.
Submitted to what the FBI told them to do.
Because, I sleep naked. So.
A lot of people sleep naked. A lot of these people were only given the opportunity to put on their underpants before they got hauled out in front of the, to stand out in the snow for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
A guy who's organizing the Washington State J6ers. There's 33 Washington State J6ers. A guy named Scott Christensen. When they came in and raided his house, he had a 15-year-old daughter in her underwear who the cops pulled out of the house, made stand out in the wintertime in Washington State, then took her back in the house, made her undress and redress in front of 15 FBI agents with their machine guns trained on her. I mean, for trespass, for the trespass of her father. A lot of these things, a lot of these raids took place years later. People were still getting arrested right before the election last fall when the FBI and the federal government had been investigating this, the largest investigation in the history of the FBI, they'll tell you. And they knew damn well because they were following these people and surveilling them and tracing them for months and sometimes years, knew they were completely harmless, ordinary citizens, and they would still show up at 6 o'clock in the morning with 30 FBI officers and federal marshals in full combat gear with machine guns and kick in their doors. This was not a pursuit of justice.
Well, who gave the orders for this? Was it Merrick?
I don't know who actually is running the White House. Nobody does. Nobody knows who was president in those days.
Yeah,
but I guarantee it went as high as
a real secret there. But if the FBI was doing it, who were they directed by?
Yeah, absolutely. And I probably said this on your show a couple of weeks ago, but if I were prosecuting these cases, I would take the deposition of the FBI officer that's holding his machine gun on a 4-year-old, and I'd say, "What kind of a reprehensible bastard are you to hold a machine gun on a 4-year-old?" And he'd say, "I didn't want to do it. It's ridiculous. We think this is the most ridiculous thing we ever did, but I was told to do it by so-and-so." Then you take so-and-so's deposition.
Yeah.
And you say, "What kind of a reprehensible bastard are you to order your FBI agents to hold 4-year-olds?"
Climb up the ladder there, right?
Absolutely, all the way up to Merrick Garland. And if Merrick Garland says, "It wasn't my decision, it was somebody at the White House," then we find that person. And Ed Martin has vowed to find these people, to prosecute the ones that are still subject to prosecution, and to out and shame the ones that he can't prosecute.
No, he's with the DOJ right now, right?
Yeah, he's got a number of different hats now, but he is the weaponization czar for the DOJ to investigate all the weaponization of the government under the Biden administration and then fix it if possible.
Now, please explain how the DC judges and prosecutors claim the evidence showed criminal activity, trespassing, or violence or vandalism to deprive the 1-6ers of their constitutional rights.
Well, amongst other things, the ASAs, the assistant U.S. attorneys, were having ex parte communications with the judges, which is, of course, completely impermissible. The judges were declaring the defendants guilty before they'd heard any evidence in both bench and jury trials. The judges in almost every case that I've talked to at the time of sentencing says, I'm not sentencing you for what you did, but to set an example. Okay. You asked me earlier what all this was designed to do. This was designed to intimidate the American people, to show that if you stood up against your government, the government will crush you, destroy you, make your life a living hell, bankrupt you, make you unemployable, and make you wish you'd never been born. Second thing is they were hoping to inspire a bigger response. So there'd be some dead bodies on the ground that they could film. And for example, the FBI, the Capitol Police rather, were directing people that had come in through open doors
to
leave through broken windows. So they get that photo op of people coming out of broken windows. I mean, Capitol Police instructed people who had come in through doors, the Capitol Police had opened for them to leave through broken windows, just so they could get those pictures. They were faking evidence. They were hiding exculpatory evidence. They were doctoring photographs. I mean, it is the most corrupt thing. And then you have the court-appointed public defenders, who are almost all leftists, who would tell our clients, you know, you're guilty, you're an insurrectionist, you should plead guilty and you should go to prison. I mean, the people that are allegedly representing.
Well, how do you once they plead guilty? What are your options as a lawyer?
Well, you know, they've all been pardoned now by the president, so you know we're not representing them on any criminal charges. Although some people are still facing some criminal charges, but what we're doing is we're attempting to set up a program to get them compensated. And I mean, most of these people that weren't self-employed, are almost universally unemployable, because they're now insurrectionists or terrorists or criminals. And you know that the conundrum is, right, the government sets you up to where they want to charge you with 15 felonies that's going to cost you the rest of your life in prison for doing no more than walking through an open door that's being held open for you by the cops.
Yeah.
They then use that coercive force to get you to plead guilty to a misdemeanor like picketing and parading or remaining in a restricted area, i.e. trespass, right? And then you plead guilty. And then the press says, well, look, they're guilty. They admitted they were guilty.
Yeah.
But they require you, the government forced you to commit perjury to admit doing something you didn't do. And then they say, well, you pled guilty to it, so you did it, right?
Yeah.
And all these people that, you know, the people that walked in, my record is 6 seconds. One of the guys was 6 seconds in the Capitol building, stepped his foot in, looked around, said, not here, steps back out.
That was a heavy boot he was wearing.
Yeah. But that's the end game of all this was they wanted to create a big enough scene, a big enough, quote, insurrection, unquote, where they'd be able to blame it on Donald Trump and keep him from being able to run for re-election under the 14th Amendment. And so many people have told me that the government came to them and said, if you say Donald Trump put you up to this, we'll let you go or give you a reduced sentence.
How many of them agreed to do that?
Almost nobody, essentially nobody. Because it just wasn't true. And these people they would not be there if they were not American patriots. And American patriots, aren't cowards, and they're not gonna roll over on the president just to save themselves, 6 months in prison, or 4 years in the case.
So why can't you break some of these cops? Wasn't there a different cop who was in charge of the Capitol Police, and didn't he either was fired or he resigned?
Yeah, he was forced to resign. He went public with the fact that Nancy Pelosi refused to communicate with him, refused to give him any support, refused to give him adequate, refused, of course, the National Guard that Donald Trump had requested, but refused the Capitol Police any additional support. Then Nancy Pelosi lied and said that she was in constant contact with the chief of the Capitol Police, which was a complete lie. And then, of course, I think it was like 1 or 2 days later, after January 6th, he resigned.
Yeah, and also Nancy recently, I'm sure you have this tape of her talking to her daughter that it was her fault.
Yeah.
So how does she weasel out of this?
I don't know. I'm hoping that she does not weasel out of it. Here's another fun fact.
Yeah.
Nancy Pelosi's daughter is a, quote, journalist, unquote. Right. She was interviewing J6 defendants while they were still subject to prosecution, not revealing the fact that she was Nancy Pelosi's daughter and leading them on into thinking that she was on our side whilst extracting information from them.
Well, what precedents or statutes were mostly grievously failed due to accepting pardons as compensation for their unconstitutional treatment?
Well, you know, the pardons obliterated a lot of the people that had their cases on appeal. But here's the thing, right? Our philosophy on this, and I believe it's absolutely true, is that from the highest level of the government, probably whoever's actually running the White House, through Merrick Garland, down to Christopher Wray, down to the individual FBI agents, we're all involved in a conspiracy to deprive people of their constitutional rights in order to foment this thing that they wanted to call an insurrection. Their First Amendment rights were obviously violated because most of these people were doing no more than peaceably assembling to seek redress of their grievances, i.e. complain about the 2020 election. Most of these people had their Second Amendment rights deprived because even if they're only charged with misdemeanors, they had to give up all their weapons. Their Fourth Amendment rights in almost every case I've talked to are violated because most of these people never saw a search warrant. The people would come in, ransack their houses, tear them apart. Now, the Fourth Amendment requires that there be a search warrant issued upon affidavit, upon probable cause, specifically identifying the places and persons to be searched and the things to be seized. Well, these were just blanket search warrants or special ones where the limitations were just absolutely ignored. And the people would come in, get their houses ransacked. Sixth Amendment violations. These people didn't get juries of their peers. They got juries of people that hated them and wanted them to go to prison for the rest of their life. Eighth Amendment violations. Some of these people were housed. Go ahead.
Why were these people all convinced that they were going to go down because of the voting was all for Trump?
I've heard people say that when they're in there for jury selection, the veneer panel, the people waiting to get on the jury, were giving them the finger, were swearing at them. I mean, this is. I mean,
so you have this documented as well?
Well, yeah. You know, if I'm picking a jury in St. Louis County, or if I'm picking a jury in Franklin County, or down in Phelps County where you are, if somebody stands up and says, I hate the McCloskeys, are reprehensible bastards, they ought to go to jail, you get the whole panel struck because they have.
I've heard that before.
Yeah. But in these cases, you get Trump. I mean, not Trump. Biden administration officials on juries. You get people that vow that they hate Trump, hate MAGA, get on juries. People that there was nothing like a unbiased jury. That's why the people pled to things they didn't do, because the conviction rate by jury trials was almost 100%. Conviction rate in bench trials in front of the judge was almost 100%. Convicted on all charges with no evidence was a standard outcome. And so what are you going to do? Are you going to plead guilty to this?
You could, for one thing, hear it in the news. Like, this is news. I don't see anybody covering this. I don't see Fox. I don't see Newsmax. Who is covering this?
The only guy that's really covering it is Greg Kelly at Newsmax, and he talks about it on a regular basis. But you're right, Fox is absolutely ignoring it. I think in the real world, half of the Republicans in Congress would like to see the J6 issue just go away, because they were frightened. I mean, I hearken back to 9/11, right? And I'll just the irony of the propaganda, and I keep using propaganda because I don't see anything on mainstream media, and I include Fox and Newsmax in that these days, that isn't just propaganda. There's no pretext of objectivity anymore. You're either lying on one side or lying on the other. But back in 9/11, immediately after, the next day on like 9/12, the big headline everywhere was, "These colors don't run," and the Congress was standing on the steps of the Capitol building singing "God Bless America," right? Then an envelope shows up at some congressman's office with some white powder in it, and they evacuate the Capitol, right? these colors don't run unless somebody sends us some talcum powder in an envelope, in which case we're out of here hiding our tails in our undisclosed locations.
They're all going crazy about this fake cop up in Minnesota now.
Yeah,
they want billions more to protect them. Maybe just
here's,
millions. I don't know.
Here's an interesting thing.
Oh, yes,
I got to go shortly because you're at 10
I know. So do I.
But Woody Harrelson's dad shot a federal judge down in Texas back when I was in law school, and that's when courthouse security started. And now it's comprehensive all over the country and very invasive and unconstitutional in my opinion. But you know what? You run for judge, you run for Congress, you assume those dangers inherent in those positions. You shouldn't have that job. And if you're going to be such a coward, you say, please protect me because I'm afraid that somebody might damage me for the job I spent millions of dollars trying to acquire, because in the real world, I'm just some stooge coward, and I want to have the federal government protect me greater than any one of my constituents gets protected. And I think that's a hypocrisy that needs to end.
All right. Other than Dave Weinbaum Show, where can people find you and hire you?
I am at McCloskeylaw.com, McCloskeylaw.com. I'm on X at McCloskey USA. I'm on Rumble. You can still catch my old broadcasts. I've given up broadcasting so that I can devote full time to January 6th, but you can still see my old programs on my X feed or on Rumble under Mark McCloskey on Fire. And we're going to be down in the Springfield area on the 4th of July. We'll be there on the 5th of July for a J6 reunion. You can meet us down there in Rogersville, Missouri on January 5th.
All right. And I hear the Viagra thieves got caught. They were too stiff to run.
I thought you were going to say they're up to something.
Well, I could have said that, but I didn't say that. And I still got. I didn't get. Did I get crickets? No. Okay, listen in. Do it again. There it is.
All right.
That means I won. All right. Thank you so much. Hi to Pat.
I sure will.
Time if that's possible. And
right.
You aren't really good, but she sort of like adds so much to it. So
she really does. I really miss her when she's not on the program with us.
Yeah, well, I miss her too. Okay.
Assuming we're not annihilated by World War III, we'll see you soon.
All right. All right. Thank you, my friend.
Take
all right.
care.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it for my friend Mark McCluskey. And let's get on to the next guy. The next guy. All right. Who is he? Oh, my gosh. I'm sorry to keep you waiting. You know that
No,
one, right?
no problem. It was great listening to Mark.
Okay.
I
You can hear.
agree with so much of what he has to say.
Yeah. He's a good guy.
And I'd like to, by the way, I'd like to find out when that gathering is. You said he's going to be down in Springfield, because I'd love to go down there and meet him just to say hi face to face.
Rogersville, he said.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
On the 5th.
Yeah. Okay, this gentleman, he's an author of Rules for Defeating Radicals. He is an American. He is saving an American state one pizza at a time. And he knows Mike Flynn. Please welcome. Now that he's in Missouri, I don't know why. Chris Adamo. Didn't you find that flattering?
I did. And I'll tell you, I love Missouri. Missouri is the American heartland. You get out of St. Louis and Kansas City, and Missouri is, down to earth. What made America great?
I would agree with that. It's I've been happy down here for 50 years. Of course, I've been here 70 years, but no, I haven't. No, I've been happy here most of my life. My lovely wife here was born right in this area, right?
Columbia, Missouri.
Columbia,
Yeah, both
yes.
my parents went to
Okay.
Mizzou.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Great people
went
coming
to
out of
college
Columbia.
here, went to
Yep.
school, worked for me for when she was 16 years old, and she's still hanging around me.
Emotionally scarred forever.
That's right. So apparently not one illegal alien was found this month in America. And that's in the year after year, we're down 93% in our illegal aliens.
We've stopped them from crossing in. Now what we got to do is get them, starting with the bad actors, but get those that shouldn't be here back out of the country. And that's the real battle that we're in right now, because the left can only win elections two ways: by cheating at the ballot box and by sticking phony voters in there, because they do not have anywhere near a majority of the American people on their side. And so they're going to try and keep the illegals here, and then they're going to try and give them the right to vote. The right to vote and determine the future of our country. These are foreigners, sometimes hostile foreigners, that the left wants to give carte blanche to where they can drag America down into the gutters and turn it into the nightmare that these people escaped from.
Well, we had a little bit of victory when I guess it was a local court said that that Trump has the right to have National Guard there in L.A. and to send back illegals.
Yeah, and actually that court was all that court was doing was upholding the law and the Constitution as written. I mean, it's like you talk about a legal no-brainer, that's it.
Well, yeah, but there's a lot of legal no-brainers. I was just talking with Mark McCluskey about
Oh, yeah.
And it's an incredible thing what they've done.
Yeah,
they
it absolutely is.
Construction, and it was huge. And they hurt a lot of American people, and they hurt this country badly.
And here's the thing that we need to understand about it. This was not ineptitude on their part. This was agenda-driven, leftist, anti-American, anti-Constitution attacks, a strategy.
Yeah, I would agree with that 100%. So both sides are pushing back on migrant, even current illegals. If no criminals should be happening, and this is Trump's idea. He's talking about the farmers that get these visas to get to work the fields and all that back and forth, and they're really I guess you could. I don't think they're illegal aliens, but people are saying that's part of the deal, that they're taking these guys out too, and gals.
Well, and you're going to see the left on every single issue out there. They cannot deal with it in its reality because they lose. And I'll take this right back. If everybody's looking right back to my book, we take things back to the reality, and the left loses. So they have to have lies. They have to mock the truth. They have to attack the truth bearers, and they have to present things under total falsehood. Otherwise, they lose. So you're hearing this stuff about, it's like, well, the crops are going to rot in the fields unless we can get all these illegals in here. And like you said, both sides, unfortunately, I can take it back to George W. Bush, the great Republican globalist, turns out to be rhino president we had back in the first years of the 21st century.
Did you know he was a rhino?
I voted for the guy, and I was happy when he won. And then I'm watching, and these inane things start happening. And I will tell you this, I have no doubt in my mind that if it weren't for 9/11, he never would have won re-election, because he just went completely like a rhino typically does. You get in touting one thing, and then you completely betray it and go over and try and appeal to the opposition. And he was the one that said, well, they're just doing jobs Americans won't do. Now, the reality of that is, if you want to say that sentence and speak the truth, it's that these illegals are doing jobs Americans won't do for third world wages.
Yeah, right.
And that's the effort of getting these people in.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So the SCOTUS now also come up with a pretty good thing, and they stopped transgender operations 6-3.
Yep. And I would add there that the left is having a meltdown over that. Elizabeth Warren is talking about, this is so abusive. Now, if you were to follow these kids that get in these situations, these young children, first of all, they don't know what they're talking about. When I was 6 years old, I wanted to be a bird. Okay, I don't need doctors cramming feathers into my arms because I want to be a bird. Okay, these kids, they do this, and then they get all this adulation often from their crooked parents and from their lunatic teachers. They get all this adulation for the little boy saying he wants to be a girl. They get genitally mutilated. They get hormonally poisoned. And then Now that they've been used and they can be held up as an icon for all this progressivism, then they pretty much get cast aside. And the suicide rate among these kids is unbelievable, because what have they done? They've totally wrecked their bodies. They've totally chemically perverted their bodies, and they don't have answers. They don't have that peace of mind that they were promised that they were going to have if they do all this hideous mutilation of their bodies, but they're no longer useful to the left at that point.
You wanted to put feathers on or whatever it is. Your parents probably told you, no, you can't do that. Okay?
Yeah, and if
they're preventing that from happening, they're preventing the parents
exactly
from controlling their own children from mortal abrogation of their lives.
Well, we used to have this thing called child abuse.
Yeah,
and the left got a hold of child.
It's still on the books.
Yeah, but it gets selectively enforced, because he used to be, now neglecting your child and your child runs wild, that was child abuse. Well, then they said, no, if you stop your child from doing what he wants, you're constraining him. That's child abuse. If you paddle his little butt when he's being bad so that he doesn't behave that way as an adult, that's the child abuse. They stopped us from actually disciplining and raising our children, because that's abusive. But going in and literally surgically attacking and mutilating their bodies, they say that's not abuse. This is how the left grabs every issue and completely puts the shoe on the wrong foot. Unfortunately, we have allowed that to go on. Thankfully, there's some people standing up against it. And like you said, this Supreme Court decision, 6-3.
Yeah,
we got three
judges.
Three people up there that should be registered sex offenders at this point. Those three judges that went along with the idea of abusing children, those people are evil, and they should be honestly registered sex offenders for advocating that kind of treatment of children.
Yeah. Anyways, going back to the president for a minute, he put these huge poles for our flag to show the world how much we love the USA at the White House. And I guess they're screaming, he's a king, he's a king.
Oh, they're
doing.
This is the Alinsky strategy. You take every issue, and you totally recast it in these phony terms that puts the leftist lunatics on their phony moral high ground and puts us on the defensive if we let them. Now think about this. Kamala Harris was coronated as the supposed Democrat candidate for president in 2024 without a single vote. They just got together behind closed doors somewhere and said, she's it.
Yeah.
Okay. And they're talking about us having royalty. Okay.
Yeah.
If you look at what went on from 2020 to 2024, Joe Biden is this mindless puppet that often doesn't know what room he's in. And there's somebody, and we all know who it was, Barack. We all know who you were, running things behind the scenes, and they're telling us that we're the ones that have royalty. This is how they do it. This is why it's so imperative that our side not let them get away with this. You see them doing this, you call them out on it.
Well, there's now an investigation as to whether this Jackson Supreme Court judge wasn't put in there by some Biden and Obama cabinet member by auto pen.
And you know what?
If that happens, well, what happens to the judge?
Let's also talk about the fact that the Kash Patel this week says that we have all of this proof. What have you and I said all along about the 2020 election?
It was fixed.
It was fixed. It was stolen. That makes that an illegitimate presidency.
And that made us look like idiots and got us, just like the vaccines. If you said something against them, that would get you banned, shadow banned, and all sorts of nasty things would happen.
Here's the problem, though, Dave. You have so many, and some of them are actual turncoat Republicans. Some of them are just cowards that were so afraid to call that out as a stolen election. And the minute you called it out as a stolen election, well, you're being extreme. You're being extreme. And that way they silence our side. The truth is that the Republican conservative base was actually the ultimate guilty party in allowing 2020 to be stolen, because we began pulling our punches. You've heard me say how by the end of that first week after the election, we were so scared of saying we saw something wrong, because they're going to scream that we're insurrectionists, we're trying to advocate overthrow and all that. We started using terms like possible voting irregularities. That's what the left counted on. Because I can guarantee you, if the roles were reversed on that, and it was the Republicans who had pulled all those massive flagrant stunts, closing down the windows, bringing in the ballots, all of the hacking the machines, if the Republicans had done that, you would not have seen the left using terms like possible voting irregularities.
Exactly.
So here's what's got to change. We, our side, have got to speak out, and speak out bluntly. And I am really... I like Richard Lockwood's message here. He says, write out a rules for radicals. That's why, Richard, if you haven't got a copy of my book, Rules for Defeating Radicals, this is how we confront that Alinsky strategy. Anyway, I got distracted there. But we cannot allow the left to dictate the terms of discourse. The minute we do that, we forfeited the high ground.
Sure. So the actual debate on whether Iran has nukes, there are a lot of quotes from the mullahs that Israel is a one or two nuke country, and that the United States is more. But they're all devils. They're just one little devil and one big devil. So why, if some are saying out there that there's no nukes, that Iran never had nukes?
You're going to get everything. Mark McCluskey, you just had on right before me, he made an excellent point where it's like it's difficult to get facts. What you get is this propaganda camp or this propaganda camp. Okay, and I really am glad you brought that up, because there's several things I want to address about this. You're going to hear the New York Times right now is saying that they got it absolutely backwards. They're saying if we attack that Fordo location in Iran, that's the one that's deep under the mountain, they're saying that Iran won't build nukes unless we attack that. Now, how stupid can you possibly be that, well, if we let them keep running it, they'll just be nice guys. If we destroy it, well, then they're going to build nukes. So what are they saying? Back off and give it to Iran. These are leftists. Leftists, by the way, in case people haven't noticed, leftists always ultimately align with Islamists. In the long run, I don't care what the issue is. They always, now, why is that? It's for this reason. Leftists and Islamists ultimately serve the same master, the same spiritual master. And you can take that and take it as far as you want. Okay. But what we have is an existential threat. And we've had Iran since 1979, 46 years ago.
46 years, yeah.
We've had Iran doing everything at every opportunity that it gets. At the minute it has the ability to export terror, somehow it does it.
Well, let's say they didn't have the bomb. They said they had the bomb. Okay, when you're around bullies, in my opinion, and I'm an expert on bullies, you have to kind of believe them on occasion. And you have to take whatever necessary means it is that they're talking to you about destroying you with seriously.
Absolutely right. Especially when you get to the point of them. We know that they've been enriching uranium. I could give you a little physics lesson if we had an hour, but the point is there is no reason whatsoever for these centrifuges except they're enriching uranium. Okay, now there's two options here. If they get enough uranium, they can make a nuke, and then obviously we're going to see all hell break loose. But the other thing is, and there's a upside and a downside to this. These ballistic missiles that they've been firing at Israel, from a sheer strategic standpoint, these things are actually little more than, do you remember the German V2 of World War II? It was a ballistic missile. It was actually very famous. World War II, they were just lobbing these things towards London. They weren't hitting strategic targets.
Right.
They had about the same amount of explosives, about 1 ton of explosives in them. Okay, and they were. I think the V2 might even have had more explosives in it. But the point is that they weren't a strategic, a military advantage other than inflicting terror on the populace. Okay, that's all these ballistic missiles are doing. But you put enriched uranium in there, even if you don't have it enriched to the point of being able to make a nuke, and you take it and you send it over Israel and you blow it apart over Israel, you've now got massive nuclear contamination.
Oh, yeah.
And don't put anything past the Iranians. As you just said a minute ago, they say they're going to do it. You better believe it. And have they been doing it for the last 46
I've
years?
always seen it growing up, just a regular street fight. The guy says, "I'm going to kick your ass." The next thing I know, I'm putting my fist in his nose.
Have they been playing dirty for the last 46 years?
Yeah.
They absolutely have. They've taken every opportunity they can. They're obsessed with exporting this Islamist, this oppressive, despotic Islamist ideology.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, they've been doing it every chance they get. So they're going to stop now? I don't think so. Now, here's the problem that we have in our country. You remember Roosevelt when he said, "Speak softly and carry a big stick"?
Yes.
Trump is trying to do that. Okay.
Yeah.
Trump, he's doing his level best to say, we as the United States of America aren't going to stand for this. We are going to take whatever steps necessary as we see fit to ensure our survival and to ensure that we stop this terrorist exporting nation. Okay. We're going to do that. Now, you got all of these Rand Pauls, all these pious little whatever he is. I consider him, frankly, I consider him opposition at this point. Oh, we're going to stop President Trump from doing that. Once he takes away that big stick that Trump is wielding to warn the Iranians, once Rand Paul undermines that, he increases the likelihood that Iran is going to try something rash, because I don't care how nutty they are. If they think they're going to face the full wrath of the United States, they're going to back off a little bit. If they think Rand Paul and his other cohorts can stop Trump from doing what it takes to fight for and defend the United States of America, they're going to be that much more emboldened.
I did my whole monologue on what Trump is up to. And I think he's up to making a deal with a new regime of Persians who hate the mullahs and who love Israel and love America. All right. I think the government's going to go back to that. And then, the Shah's son, as Lockwood says, the Shah's son is ready to take over the government in Iran. He is pro-American. That's very good, Richard. And so, and
absolutely agree.
What does this lead to? It leads to Iran, of all places, going to be in the Abraham Accord, and then Saudi Arabia, and then Lebanon, and then Jordan, and then all the African countries, including Egypt.
Two groups that hate that. It's the leftists and the Islamists. Okay, now let's go back, and I'm not going to be able to give you the exact year.
I think this is what he's looking to do, though.
I think you're absolutely right. I'm fully agreeing with you. But okay, if we go back, and I wish I had the year, I should have written this down. But Mahmoud Ahmadinejad was this wacko. He was the AOC Iranian leader back during the Obama years. They had an election, and he was doing the Democrat thing and stealing the election. And Obama came in and threw his full support behind Ahmadinejad. Okay, so Obama does that, and the leftists are okay with it. Trump comes in and says, we're going to get rid of this anti-American terrorist regime. And they're all up in arms because, Trump can't do that. He's interfering.
That was pro-American. I mean, basically, he was anti-American. He helped ISIS. He helped all the Muslim countries.
And it was not. It was here. We got to be clear. It wasn't ineptitude.
Huh?
It was not ineptitude on his part.
It was his mantra. He's not
absolutely
a guy. Okay, he was put in there, and what's he still doing in D.C.?
He's doing everything he can to continue to fan the flames of racial discord, be pro-Islam, be anti-American. He's still doing the same thing.
I think he's pretty nervous right now.
Well, I don't think he'll face the justice he deserves, unfortunately. But I think that that he and the other leftists, the things they have done, that they exceed any standard of high treason. I'll just say it that way.
Do we got more clips, by the way? Put Lockwood up there. Whatever. I didn't read it from Lockwood. If leftists back Islamists, then why does the Jewish community in America continue to vote for the leftists? Well, this Jew ain't voting for him.
That is the question of the age, Richard. I'll be honest with you. Now, I know quite a few.
I know a lot of Jews that have changed.
And that's good. There's an awakening going on there that needs to happen. Unfortunately, you look, I mean, Saul Alinsky, Rules for Radicals, Saul Alinsky, he was Jewish. Chuck Schumer, we could go down the list. And unfortunately, you have these people who are Jewish by heritage, but their real religion doesn't come from the Holy Scriptures. Their real religion comes from Karl Marx. And that's where we got to differentiate. People say, well,
you have a lot of liberal Jews here.
Yeah,
they were part of the revolution in Moscow in 1917.
Yeah, unfortunately, of course.
All right, my heart goes out to our MAGA martyr, Ashley Babbitt. She was unarmed when she was shot by a left-wing Capitol Police officer. In fact, she was joking around with them. I mean, she was helpful to them. Incredible.
I don't know if we'll ever get to the bottom of the January 6th, the real treason that was going on that day, which is, first of all, them validating a stolen election, and secondly, that whole J6 thing at the Capitol that was obviously orchestrated by the left.
Yeah.
It worked because they brought them in there, and then they say that they're insurrectionists, and then our side gets so scared of being, we didn't color inside the lines, we have to apologize, we have to step lightly. They had us right where they wanted us, totally on the defensive after they stole a presidential election.
Yeah, but now you got people like Mark McCluskey from the last interview, and I've had him on several times because of this, because nobody's talking about it. He's got all the information. He says this was an insurrection done by the government.
Yeah, it was definitely a setup.
Because there was only one, that nobody had a gun in there except for the police. Nobody.
Right.
The FBI testified to that. And so one person got shot. Some got killed with these flash things. But only one person got shot, and that was Ashley Babbitt, a hero. Air Force, an
veteran,
Air Force hero. Sure.
So what did Nancy Pelosi, Adam Schiff, and then supposed Republicans Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger, what did they do with the damning evidence that we had that this was a setup? What did they do with it? They hid it.
They hid it, and now he's getting a lot of it back, not all of it. He says there's only one guy covering this in the mainstream media, and that's Kelly at Newsmax.
Good for him.
Yeah, good for him. Right.
Good for Mark McCloskey here pursuing this. It needs to be done.
All right. Other than Dave Weinbaum Show, where can people find you and buy your book?
It's still at Amazon, and I'm telling you, if we had another hour, I'd tell you about what the Illinois rhinos. I'm actually a target of the Illinois rhinos right now, which I wear as a badge of honor. But we still need it. We still need it to understand who leftists are and who their rhino minions are.
Okay.
And it's available at Amazon.
All right. So you're going to get another book done too?
I don't know about another book. I think this one actually still, but when I see how our side drops the ball in fighting this fight, I'm thinking this one still needs to get the coverage into the hands of the people that could use it as a field manual. Here it comes. Is Lisa there? Lisa, you're gonna?
Oh, Lisa's not there.
Gee, I'm at Dave Weinbaum's mercy now.
I got my golfing coach here.
Who's your golfing coach? Oh,
that's Chad Green.
Hello, Chad.
Hello, how are you, sir?
Yeah, that's that's Chris Adamo. You see, forget about it. He's a Sicilian.
Here come the racial slurs. Watch this, Chad.
He's from Wyoming. Okay, what do you know about Sicilians that are in Wyoming?
Nothing.
Witness protection program. It's sprayed all over him, and look at him. He's trying to he's trying to get a little Jew who wants to tell a little joke, and he's picking on me. You're a bully. Now, this is what I want to tell you. You know, the best things about idiots is knowing you aren't one. Now, let me ask you, do you know that you're not an idiot?
That actually wasn't a joke. That was a good point.
Thank you. All right. Thank you. Well, I'll take that. It got about a.
We still need the crickets there, JP.
Yeah, there you go. No, we don't. You leave that alone. All right. Listen, thank you, my friend. You have a great. Say hello
Keep
to your
up the
wife.
great work.
You're doing well.
God bless.
God bless, my friend. All right. So my friend up here who never called me, but that's all right because I can do this without your.
It was a busy day at the courts
That's all right.
yesterday, Mr. Weinbaum.
I see this guy, and I'm in my little outfit at McDonald's, and he pulls up, and I says, "Hey, can you give me a bio?" And he said, "Oh yeah, sure."
Yeah, I did. I dropped the ball.
That's all right.
It's not the first time.
That's all right. No. I am equipped.
I knew you would be
with
prepared.
things like AI.
Yeah, I knew you'd be prepared.
All right. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, OMCC, that's Oak Meadow Country Club manager, great golf coach of S&T in South Dakota, and a teacher. He's a golf teacher too. His daughter gives him the chance to stay in shape by him chasing her all over the place. What is her name?
Her name is Nora.
And your wife's name?
Meredith.
I mean, she is so cute.
I appreciate that.
And you running after her is really cool. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, we were having dinner with the club there, and all I saw this guy were flashes of him chasing his daughter all over the place.
Yep.
Is this how you stay in shape or what?
She can't sit still, but I don't know many 2-year-olds that can.
So what's the difference? And I am a fan of yours.
I appreciate that, Dave.
What's the difference between a pro and a manager?
Nothing.
Okay, so what?
So my technical title at Oak Meadow is General Manager, Director of Golf. So then we have a food and beverage manager, and then we have a golf shop manager. So my main job is I kind of look over everything, but then where I get more into the details is in the golf side. Then my food and beverage manager, she handles all of that. She does a great job. Her name's Kelly. And then
yes.
And
I
then
know Kelly very well.
My assistant GM, who has been there for 7 years, is unfortunately retiring and moving to the
Who's
lake.
that?
Jeff.
Jeff's going?
Yep, Jeff.
Oh,
Jeff is moving to the lake. So
I like Jay too.
Yep, we're going to fill that role as call it a golf shop manager, and their main responsibilities will be in the golf shop. It's a unique club. Oak Meadow has always been a unique club in my opinion. You know, I've worked at, I think this is club 5 for me in my career.
Mm-hmm.
And the camaraderie of most of the members is the unique part. You know, at every other club, you know, you go there, you play golf, you have a couple cocktails, you might have dinner there, and then that's usually about it. You know, at Oak Meadow, you're going to go there and you're going to go to the Super Bowl party. You're going to go to the Christmas party.
Sure.
I think somebody plays Santa that sits in this room at the Christmas party.
Yeah.
So it's a unique place that's not just golf, you know.
Sure. You're going to go to a fundraiser on June the 20th.
30th.
Or 30th.
Yes.
I keep saying that.
Yes, June 30th. Yes.
And that's with Bill. I was just checking.
Yep.
Bill Hardwick is going to be there. And
that's right.
What a great politician he is.
Yep. So
and we're gonna have McDonald's there.
That's right. That's perfect. Yeah. Perfect. So
unless you guys want to cook.
No.
All right. Okay.
Mickey D's is good with me.
All right.
So you know.
So as a coach and now a manager, what you explain is the same thing as being the pro of a.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Why don't you call yourself a pro? Why would you want to? You're wearing a hat that says amateur.
That's because one of my former players played in the U.S. Amateur Championship, and when I went out and watched him, I picked up a hat. So
who was that?
Carl Miltoon.
And where is he?
Carl is out playing professional golf.
Where?
All over the country. So he's on what's called the All Pro Tour. Carl was a 2-time All-American at S&T during my time here.
I know him very well.
Yep.
You know.
I do. I know you do.
Yeah.
He is on the All Pro Tour. Which is a mini tour, but they actually follow the Corn Ferry. So they can Monday qualify at the Corn Ferry. If they don't get in, they go play in the All Pro Tour event.
So I've been looking for him for months, and I can't find him on the internet.
Look at the All Pro Tour and look at
All Pro Tour.
Yep, All Pro Tour. Yep.
Okay, I give him a call.
Yep.
See what happens.
Yep.
You know, I played him once, and I actually tied. He shot a 68. I shot an 86. I just turned it around.
There you go. There you go.
Damn straight.
Yeah, that's right. I would too.
So yeah, he's really good.
He's a good player and even better young man. He if he gives himself enough time to play on the pro
I think he's
circuit,
going to do it.
good.
I thought he retired and he was a very smart engineering student.
Yep,
too.
he has his undergrads in mechanical, and what a great backup plan that is.
Yeah.
If golf doesn't go the way he wants it to.
Well, I mean, you don't golf forever.
No,
well, you can pretty much.
Yeah, get on the senior tour. Yeah,
yeah. Hey, Jack Nicklaus came out with a great tape of him talking to other golfers, and it was really cool. It's on my site, Dave Weinbaum Show site, and you ought to just listen to that. It's really cool. He's there with about 6 other golfers, young golfers, and they're asking him about all the why he picked golf and all this other stuff. Really interesting stuff, and they could learn a lot. As a coach and now manager, you've been around members for years, so and you were a great coach for S&T. What skills did you have as coach help you in the current position?
Yeah, I mean, it's just managing people, whether they're members of your college golf team or members of your staff. That doesn't change. Managing members' expectations and members what they want out of the club. Because at the end of the day, myself, my bar manager, every employee at Oak Meadow Country Club, we work for the membership. I answer to a board of directors that are all members. The club's member owned, so there's really no owner. We're working for them, and when we're trying to give them the best experience they can. I kind of told them, when they called me back in February and asked me if I would interview or even entertain this position. When I was interviewing with them, they said, what's the difference? What do we need to do to take Oak Meadow to the next level? I said, like anything else in life, what's the difference between extraordinary and ordinary? That little extra. Yeah. And that's what we have to do at Oak Meadow. Give the membership that little extra, whether it's improving something or making something that we already have better. One thing that I've been there 6 weeks now, there's a few tee boxes that we need to make better. And that's exactly what we're working on today.
Good.
When I left the course today, they were clearing out 12's tee box for sod that comes in next week. So,
okay.
Yeah, right as you pull out or pull into the course.
Yeah,
so,
sure.
Those are the little extras, right? A golf course is never going to be perfect. Even Augusta National isn't perfect 365 days a year. So that's not really an expectation we can have, but we can make it better. And if we do it steps at a time, Rome wasn't built in a day, and the golf course isn't going to get better over time or in one night. So
I never played Pebble Beach, but I once visited it and kind of walked it. And it's a public course, right?
Yeah.
And I couldn't help thinking that this doesn't look like a professional course. It's like, it's got the same kind of things that Oak Meadow would have.
Every golf course has a lot of the similar issues, dead spots. If it gets too hot, too wet, we all go through the same. But, Pebble Beach is like the old realty saying, location, location, location. It has the location.
Oh, well, yeah. Hello. No. This is a great little course.
It is.
And it's not little. It's nice.
Yeah, it's a good track, that.
You ever going to make it larger?
Longer,
yeah.
Yes, that is a pet
Seriously?
peeve of mine. I think we could put in a couple tee boxes that will lengthen that pretty quickly.
I got the idea for you, hole 2, which I said ought to be a drivable par 4.
Yep, that one's been brought up. Yep,
there you
has
go.
Been brought up. Putting one of my things I'd love to do is put in a blue tee box on 12 back to where the Oak Meadow sign is in that island. You know what I'm talking about? Where the
12, yeah.
Where the Oak Meadow sign is, the big sign.
Oh, yeah.
Putting a blue tee box back there, that'd make it a great hole. That would make it a great hole from the back.
You better not let the cars go through there.
Well, that's all right. That'd be all right.
Put a little bridge up.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, so that's really cool. That's cool because I heard that the boards. I play with a guy he's pretty strict. Willis.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard a couple good things coming out of the board meeting the other day. In fact, one of them was, the people that attended the board meeting recently. It seemed to them that you were in tune with their suggestions, and one of them I think was the Monday closure of the course until 3.
So we call it Maintenance Monday.
Yeah.
So it's only the first Monday of the month.
Okay.
We're closing the course till 3 to give our maintenance crew their entire working day with not a person on the course. So if they need to go out and fix 6 sprinkler heads, and that should only take 2 hours, but when you put golfers on it, 2 turns into 4 real quick when you're trying to dodge golfers. So,
sure.
So to give them that
you
access.
were taking out the money making tournaments that were there too. So now you're actually going to put those tournaments somewhat back in, right?
Correct. So if a tournament falls on the first Monday of the month, we move it to the second Monday of the month.
Okay.
So a tournament won't lose their spot. We just might move what our first Monday of the month is for maintenance Mondays. And Mondays has always been at Oak Meadow where we don't open till noon anyways. Because as a lot of courses, especially in bigger metropolitan areas, are actually closed all day on Mondays, every Monday. Yeah. So we've always had, for as long as I've been here, even when I was coaching, Mondays never open till noon. So we pushed it back 3 hours on that first Monday of the month to give our maintenance crew a full day of work for them with nobody on the course.
So speaking of your maintenance crew and the people that are attending to the grass and the fairways and the greens, what has changed since you got here?
As far as personnel or just in general?
General.
Okay. So
personnel and otherwise.
Yeah. Brent Wagner is our new superintendent. He was the assistant superintendent for the previous 2 years and just took over as the head superintendent back in February. So he's new to the position, but not new to Oak Meadow. And as far as my opinion and in my experience, a lot of superintendents are grumpy and they're to themselves, and because they're on that course all day. Brent's great with me, and he's great with our membership. He's willing to talk to anybody and everybody. They might not always agree with each other, but that's okay. And then he has a staff of about 15. He has about 10 full-time that work for him 12 months out of the year. Then he has about 5 to 6 part-timers that just work during the summer. We have a nice group of S&T football players that work on our maintenance crew. And they're not.
Yeah, I've seen them.
They're not afraid to swing a hammer or swing a shovel.
It's not only that, they talk to you. They're nice to us.
They are.
The other guys were told to ignore us.
Yep.
Okay. I never understood that.
Yep. So that's Brent's big thing was, I don't mind you talking to the members. You should be. So and those football players are awesome. They'll talk to anybody. They come in the golf shop in the clubhouse and they'll talk to me. So they're great. They're great. I think he has a great crew. He has some guys that have been there a long time. A young man named Cole, who's a local guy, born and raised here. And then, I talked to Cole this morning about a cart that went down, and they're good problem solvers, and that's what you need in that role. So,
So what other expansions are you looking for to make the course better?
So right now we're working on tee boxes.
Yeah.
That's been our big kind of number one on our priority list. And that comes from what the members want, for me personally, the tee box need to get done, but I'd also like to do the bunkers. And I think that has become project number 2. Once we get our tee boxes done this fall, we're going to look into bunkers. We just ordered sand for the bunkers.
Couldn't agree more. You got these kids. One of my kids plays here a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Mr. Dax.
Yep. Dax. And, these kids are going to need to know how to hit out of bunkers.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He's actually not bad at it. You must have taught him that.
He's a good little player.
He's a good little player.
That is right.
Needs to be a little bit more consistent. But,
but we all do.
We all do.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. You're better off. Now, you know what? What Nicholas said was this. He says, look, I know why I was good. I was good because I could get to the on par 4, sometimes I could drive the green, and on par 5s I could get there in 2. He says that's what really it takes. Yeah, I had my bad shots, but is that true?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah,
you're a lot better with a wedge than you are a 7-iron.
So, are you going to be able to teach me how to hit longer? Because I am only 5'3",
We're both vertically challenged. Yes. So
I'm more vertically challenged than you.
So no, I'm going to teach you to hit it straighter and eliminate double bogeys.
Well, I'm doing a lot of that. I am.
Are you eliminating double bogeys?
But pretty much.
All right.
Hey, I actually I tied Willis.
Okay.
Once at par. We were both par.
All right. Well, then,
Okay, so
then
I'm getting there.
Why are you complaining?
And
then?
I'm not. I am complaining because he hits it like 20, 30 yards beyond me. I don't like that.
Okay, so
you got to help me with my clubs.
All right, we can do that.
All right,
we can
good.
do that. We can do that.
So what other strategies do you have to gain revenue?
I mean, the big thing with us is, and it's like any course in the Midwest, what do we do October, November, December, January, February?
Yeah.
When people aren't coming out there to play golf. That's every golf courses in the Midwest. How can we generate revenue during those months? One thing that might not happen this winter, but could happen next winter, is getting some simulators so we can get people out there and still playing golf. It's not on the golf course, but it's simulated golf.
Okay.
You
put them inside.
Yep,
right?
exactly. Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. We have a nice dart league that brings people in.
Yeah.
I'd also like to start, because we have a big enough banquet area that we could have a cornhole league that brings people in. It's just getting people to the course when there's snow on the ground or it's 30 degrees outside.
You got a bar, a nice bar.
Great bar.
Yeah.
That was redone in the last 5-6 years. Great lounge called the Lanning Lounge, honoring Ken Lanning, a longtime golf pro and kind of Mr. Golf in Rolla for generations and generations.
I knew him.
So yeah, that's my job, is how do I get people in the door when the golf course is closed? And just having a bar is usually not going to bring them in, but if you give them a reason to come out there and do stuff, it gives them a reason to come in.
Well, it sounds to me like you're going to have to do some social media, or maybe radio or TV.
Yeah.
Or podcast advertising.
I got a social media lady. So, but we.
And
can
by the
definitely
way, he is on ESPN. Oh, you know each other, right?
Oh,
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh yeah.
So okay. Yeah, sure. Work out a deal.
There we go.
No, I'm serious.
There we go. Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, you're gonna have to let people know, and it's not just the members you want there. You want other people there, right?
Correct. I mean,
now is that a good strategy of having both the public, the general public, and the members
to build revenue? Yes. To increase revenue, yes.
Right.
Being a semi-private club just lets you create more revenue. I also think we're in a unique situation that there's 2 golf courses in the whole county, us and St. James. St. James is a great course. I actually really enjoy playing St. James. It's a 9-hole course. We're the only 18-hole golf course in the county, and we're the only 18-hole golf course within a 50-mile radius that's not on a military base. So, so I think another reason is to give people access to play golf is why one reason we're not strictly private. Otherwise, the access, especially for Phelps County residents, would be limited to 1 9-hole golf course if we went strictly private.
Oh no, that's not good. We can't do that.
Exactly.
Now St. James is a 9-hole course, but they have jiggered it in such a way that it's really an 18-hole course.
Yeah, they have 2 sets of tees. Yep.
Right, 2 sets of tees.
2 sets of
right.
tees. Yep.
But
so, and Shay Abel, the manager golf pro over there, he does a great job. I have a really good relationship with Shay, and I know we both know we can call each other if we ever need anything. And I think as the only 2 courses in the county, you have to have that relationship.
And Dax is playing for
Yep,
St. James.
St. James High. Yeah. So, and I know Coach Gar over there, really good guy. So yeah.
Oh yeah.
We have in my opinion, we have a great relationship with St. James Golf Course and the St. James community. I mean, a lot of our members are St. James residents. So,
He was sneaking me into his cart when I was like dead from going. Where was I? I was in Farmington.
Okay.
With Dax. Oh my god.
For the state championship.
Yeah. I think, was that districts?
It might have been districts.
I think it was districts. We went down to Joplin.
Yeah.
For state championships.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But man, it was crazy. I mean, it was wet. It was the grass was like amazing high.
Yep.
And I mean, they had nobody looking for balls. They told the parents, you can't look for balls.
Oh, really?
And you can't give a kid advice. I kind of understand that.
Yeah, I get that.
And you can't look for balls. So the coaches were out there looking and the kids were looking.
Yeah.
It took a long time to have that one finished. I'll tell you that.
Well, that's not the case in college golf. Spectators can help look for balls, so that's weird that high school golf doesn't allow it.
I don't know. Yeah, it's maybe we could change that. Probably it's a waste of time too.
And when hasn't it been wet?
So
here?
much booze. They could have sold so much booze to the parents. Just getting. I mean, it was quite a workout.
Yeah.
Damn.
But when hasn't it been wet here in Missouri in the last 2 months?
The last 2 months,
Yeah.
Tornado, that didn't help very much.
Yeah.
I've never seen it this bad, really.
This is the wettest.
You had ice on the ground for how long? 2 months?
Like I've told everybody here, you guys had a harder winter than we did in South Dakota.
I bet
year.
you we did.
Yeah.
I'll bet you.
Yeah.
All right. By the way, did you ever get to meet Christy Nome?
She left about the time I got there. She went to Washington, D.C. So
she's something. That one. She's tough. I guess, I'm pretty well done. Other than Dave Weinbaum, you're going to be on the show. It's going to be recorded and sent out.
Perfect.
And it's going to go all over the world, I hope.
Me too.
And so other than me, where can people find you, and what the hell is your phone number?
Yeah, so you can visit our website, oakmeadowgolf.com. We're also on all social media platforms, Instagram, X, Facebook. I don't think we're on TikTok, but all those other ones.
I'm on TikTok. You're
on
it now.
I figured you would.
You're going to be
I
on
figured
now.
you were. So you can reach me directly on my line. I provide lessons. We do camps, clinics, all that good stuff. But if you just want general information on Oak Meadow, first stop would be our website, oakmeadowgolf.com. And you can always stop out. If you're local, come on and stop out and come see us and see what we have to offer. Kind of like when I told recruits when I was a college coach, I want to get your feet on our soil, come to campus for a campus visit. Come out to Oak Meadow. I want to get your feet on our soil. Come out to Oak Meadow and see what we have to offer.
And let me tell you, he turned this program around to the extent that they were going to drop the program, right?
They announced they were cutting it.
They were cutting it, and very soon after that, you found this team of players all over the world.
Yep.
And a guy named Carl Moulton, and you were like 8th in the country or something like that.
Yep. So yeah,
and this other coach came. Now he's doing it. He's following in your footsteps.
Yep. So we were lucky. Like anything in life, sometimes you can just get a little lucky, and I got lucky and got some good kids that were good fits for S&T. All really smart kids, most of them engineering kids that stuck with it. And obviously we knew the program was going to be cut. That was November 21. May of 22, we found out we saved the program. They all stuck with me and the program, and like one of the great coaches I had the pleasure of working with. He's the softball coach, still is to this day at Central College in Pella, Iowa. Most winningest softball coach in the country at any division. When I was a young coach, I used to have coffee with him about once a month, and his big thing was, I don't care where you go, Chad, or what you do, but when you leave a program, make sure the jersey's better than when you found it. And I definitely felt like I did that at S&T.
It's because you did a little bit more every day.
That's
right?
it.
You try to get a little bit better every day.
Yep. If we can get 1% better every day in 100 days, we'll be 100%.
And in golf, you're going to hit bad shots, and you got to learn how to deal with that.
Yep. Jack Nicklaus said I'd hit 7 bad shots in a round. And when I hit one, I just say, okay, that's number 1.
Yeah.
That's number 2. And one of my favorite Ben Hogan quotes is, golf's a game of good, bad shots. It's not a game of good shots.
Yeah.
If your bad shots are good, you'll be all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If your bad shots are not exactly in the worst position, but they're in a bad position, it gives you a challenge for the next shot. That's a good way of looking at it, I think.
100%.
But I don't know. I knew a golfer who was so unlucky that when they went to bury him, he lipped out.
Well, one of the quotes I took.
Wait a minute, I didn't hear that. What the hell's the matter with you? It was. I need 2 more. I need 2 more. All right. Now play Eddie Murphy. That's your punishment.
What do you know from funny, you bastard?
There you go. All right, not you. Okay. Coach, thank you so much for coming in, and I'll see you on the course.
We'll see you on the course.
We'll set up something where I can go hit some balls, and you can get me some clubs that are going to make me 100 yards more than where I'm at.
I'll get you 15. We'll start with
15. All right, 15. I'll settle for that.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you. See you, Coach.
See you guys.
All right. Say hello to everybody down there. Keep this weather going too. Yeah, we don't let you out easy here. All right, see you. All right, we got we got 6 minutes, 7 minutes. And if you want to call the show, do we have any more of the comments?
I think we have a question. Let's see.
Okay. A question. Andrew Shrum, Dave, what is the gathering that Chris Adamos mentioned that is happening on July 4th and 5th? Okay, so that is what he was talking about. He was
it was actually
Rogersville.
It was actually Mark McCluskey brought it up. It's something on July 5th in Rogersville. It's I did not get all the details down about it, but it's happening in Rogersville on July 5th is what we have.
Yeah.
So
and I'm not sure when it is offhand.
So, I don't know what time of the day it starts. He said July 5th, so it's 4th of July weekend that weekend. So that would be that Saturday then, July 5th. So probably the best thing to do is Mark McCluskey gave a little bit of detail. His interview started around 9:30. Once the show is broadcast, you can go back and listen. And I would just go back and listen to the details from Mark.
Sure. Okay. And that's it?
Yeah, that's all the new ones.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, it looks like we've had a pretty good turnout here. And I'm really happy that the coach showed up. See, I'm not a hard ass in that, I kind of wanted him to do his own bio. I do ask for that because I don't want to screw it up. Mainly.
Well, and it's really cool. It's cool to see Chad back. I mean, he did a great job with the SAT program, and
yes.
Like I said, on the verge of extinction. They were getting ready to eliminate it, and they went to nationals a couple years ago, tied for 7th or 8th place in the entire country, and then he left to take a Division I job in South Dakota, as he talked about, and then Anthony Monaco took over as the head coach here for S&T, and they just went to nationals this year and made all the way to the final round and just were then eliminated. So they pretty much finished, you might as well say, top 4th. They were in the final round to win nationals this year.
Yeah, this guy came in and improved on the good that
Chad's
doing.
Chad had him on the verge of winning a conference title, and now Coach Monaco led them to the first ever conference championship for S&T golf.
This is not a big sport school. I mean, it's a Division III, right? Division II.
Yep.
Okay, so it's not. You're not going to Notre Dame here. You're not going to the Ohio State. You're going to Rolla, Missouri, S&T, Science and Technology, and they're all engineers for the most part. Now they have other things in there, but still, and you wouldn't expect their sports teams to be anything more than a average engineering school. But this one, I don't know what it is.
So something amazing is happening. Last year, the women's softball team won their first ever conference championship and made a run in the national tournament. And then talking this year, the men's basketball team won their first conference title in almost 30 years and made a run in March Madness. The baseball team went on a run and won their first ever conference championship in program history. Same thing with the golf team, as we just talked about with Coach Monaco. So some amazing is happening and these students still, you look at the cumulative GPA of all student athletes at S&T, it's like 3.5 or higher.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's all them combined is cumulative. It's amazing.
My grandson Dax is like number 1 in his school. And he's real smart, and all he wants to do is play golf. But he's going to wrestling practice too. He also finished in the state finals for wrestling. Okay, this was like an amazing thing. Though I don't think anybody's ever done this. I've checked it out on AI. That at 14 he's going to state as a wrestler, and he makes state. And then 4 months later, when he's 15, he's going to golf, and he's going to state on varsity. I mean, I don't think anybody's ever done that before. And he's not a big kid. He's always the smallest guy on his team. But wait, he's getting big, and the kid hits it pretty long. He can hit it 300 yards, and has done so. So, and he's got the right attitude, and he does He does shoot a little wild at times, but that's gonna, he's gonna hone his game down. You realize that these kids, they have to grow, okay? And when they grow, they're gonna lose the ability to judge their own shots. So that's an interesting thing to follow up on. Anyways, we're back in our last minute, and I don't think I have anything else to talk about other than, well, I don't want to talk news right now. I think let's celebrate the weekend, okay? We're going to have a bunch of nice days. Isn't it nice living in a country now that is understanding of what's going on, and without all this people believing the crap that the other side is doing? I mean, it's sad what they're doing. They hate Jews. They hate people that love this country. They hate the country. And when are they going to get it? I mean, it wasn't this awful. I mean, I wasn't crazy about Democrats, but starting in 2008, when I first started broadcasting, I realized that Barack Obama was not in favor of America at all. He's a race baiter, evil person, and look what he's done. Look at what he's done to the country, and look what he gave us. Joe Biden and his old cabinet. And that's really sick. All right, well, let's talk about nice things. You guys enjoy the sun. Join up at OMCC. You're going to love it. The people there are great. And, well, if all is said and done, I will be back with another edition of the Dave Weinbaum Show next Friday.